And
it's the mount the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the mount the info show. It's the info. It's the mount the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the show. We got the info. Whatever you want to know, come join the info show. It's the info, man. Tell the truth. All the information, info, man. Kicking knowledge all over this nation. Bring your A team. If you want to win, please don't bring your debate team. Because we got the show. Tell the truth. These old African dogo. Information is power.
Everybody, welcome to the program. We had a little bit of a boo-boo in the beginning. Had some technical issues going on. That's why we're on late. So I want to apologize to everybody out there who's been waiting, but has been faithfully waiting, and that's in the chat room. I want to thank you. We've got my man, the number one man, Malcolm Fletch TV with us. That's right. And most importantly, everybody, we are going to tell the truth today.
Tell the truth.
Now, I had a chance to listen to Malcolm Fletch TV speak last night on his channel, and you all need to get your butts over there and support that brother's channel because he's doing a lot of great things on over there. And let me just say this. He entitled last night, it was about ADOS, reparations, and do for self. Now, we all know what ADOS means now. We've gotten it clarified. I've got a website that I've been looking at. I'm going to put that in the chat room from time to time. We know that it's about American descendants of slaves and that we know that this country owes us a hell of a lot. But we also know that they never live up to their promises. They never have repaid Black folks for the suffering and the pain that our ancestors have gone through and what we have gone through currently. The brother always talked about reparations in his video as well. And the fact of the matter is, will we get them? The question is, are we unified enough to get these reparations? The brother also talks about do for self. As a member of the Nation of Islam, under the leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the nation has been speaking and speaking and speaking about this for a number of years, about Black folks doing for self and not relying on the mayonnaise man to do for us that which we can do for ourselves. If we can stop being dumb, blind, not having knowledge of self. This is very important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the brother on. I want to get his perspective from last night, let the brother go at it. And over a period of time, I'm going to hopefully bring people onto the panel who want to be involved in this discussion. If Brother Black Media Outcast is out there listening, I'm having a hard time finding your email, brother. I thought I had it in my phone. If I may take a chance and put a link in the chat room for you can get in. There's another sister out there that I talked to who wants to get in on the discussion. So any of y'all that want to get into discussion, what's up, Brother Dubian? Brother Dubian, it's good to see you here. See Ova, good to see you here. Educated Smoker is in the house. Little Rock 517. BB Silk Scratcher. And those of you who watch my pre-produced video that I did earlier today, thank you for coming over and supporting. We know it's the weekend. There's a lot of competition on YouTube. A lot of Black folks are enjoying it, various different folks. But thank you for coming over. But this is going to be a powerful stream because this brother is very qualified to talk about this from his perspective, a powerful perspective that's based in history, facts. We're going to get into it. So with that said, let me give that brother a clap for being here. Brother Malcolm Fletch TV.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All praises is due to Allah.
Woo! All praises due to Allah, brother. I'm glad to have you here. I'm really honored, brother, that you made statements to me last night that you wanted to get together and present this to the family,
right,
and to get more in depth with the whole issue around ADOS.
Right.
Now, let me open up with this very important question, because everyone has a mixed bag about it. ADOS, as we know it, brother, is it a movement or is it just something that we're talking about right now? Because there's always been a term called a moment and a movement. A movement, if I'm not mistaken, brother, and correct me if I'm wrong, requires a sacrifice.
Right.
A moment is just something that you do at the time because it's sort of popular thing to do, and then it just kind of goes away. What are your thoughts?
Yes, sir. First, I would like to open in the most holy names of Allah, who appeared to us in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. I also like to bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is his last and greatest messenger and exalted Christ. And I also like to bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is a divine warner teacher in our midst. And I would like to greet you all, the viewers, and my brother, Information Man, with the greeting words of peace and paradise of Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, brother. Let me go ahead, brother. I'm going to listen very carefully what you have to say.
Yes, sir. So I ask Allah to guide my words, because my intention is never to offend anyone, but only to assist and help. So to answer your question, dear brother, a moment in time. See, we can't be dealing at this point in our development. We can't be dealing with anything that will not grow our community, our nation as a whole. It has to become a movement and not a hashtag. We have too many hashtags and not enough longevity in whatever that we are trying to get accomplished. People ask the question, how was the Nation of Islam able to last almost a century? It's because of the men and women who pioneered the way for us, who sacrificed greatly in their struggle, whether it be money or whether it be the loss of life. Okay? Their names will be forever remembered because of the sacrifice.
Tell the truth.
Not because of the bag. We can't do what we do and expect to get true liberation if we're doing it just for the bag, just for the money.
That's right.
See, that's when it becomes a moment, because the money is finite. We are dealing with fiat currency. It's not real money, it's an illusion. Okay, but our struggle is a real reality. So the question is, how do we change our reality? Well, one of my captains once told me, one of my trainers, he said a consistent drop of water can go through steel. I will repeat that. He said a consistent drop of water can go through steel. So one thing that Black people have to become is that consistent drop of water. We have to be consistent at whatever we do if we want to achieve true liberation.
I'm listening. I'm listening.
No, go ahead, beloved.
No.
Would you like me to keep going?
Keep going, because it's all resonating with me right now.
Yes, sir.
Go right ahead, brother. Teach.
Yes, sir.
Keep telling that truth.
So, dear family, I will make a case on behalf of Black people right now. Okay? I'm your brother, from flesh of each other's flesh, bone of each other's bone. Okay? I am an African descendant of slaves. As a matter of fact, I love the title. I love the hashtag ADOS. So I will make a case on behalf of our people. Our people has suffered the worst form of slavery throughout the annals of history. There has been no people on the face of the earth that has suffered what the Black man and Black woman has suffered during the transatlantic slave trade, and to be more specific, in the hells and wilderness of North America.
Mm-hmm.
Our brothers and sisters, our ancestors, our mothers and fathers, excuse me, were at home in the motherland and were hunted by some of our own people, Arabs and Europeans, captured. You've seen the movie Roots. You've seen the movie The Book of Slaves.
Yes.
And carried captive all the way to the shores. And hundreds and thousands of us died on the very shore before we even got on the boat. One of the first boats was called Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Good ship, Jesus. Mm-hmm.
One of the first ones was called Jesus.
Okay.
And so the enemies, the real enemies, because we think we enemies of one another, when in all actuality we're family. Many of the real enemies, these ships were owned by Jewish men. They had Jewish captains with Jewish lieutenants. Facts. Go and read the book, The Secret Relationship Between Blacks and Jews, volumes 1, 2, and 3. Or you can go on slavevoyages.com and you can see it for yourself. The names of the men and women who owned these ships, who captained these ships, and some of the tribes that some of these people came from over in the motherland by names. So we were taken across the Atlantic Ocean, okay, into various parts of the world. Some of us went to Jamaica. Mm-hmm. Some of us went to Haiti. Some of us went to Portugal. Some of us went to Great Britain. Some of us went to South America. More specifically, the most of us that left went to Brazil. Brazil has the biggest slave population than anywhere in the world. And then some of us came over here in America. But when we got here in America and we touched down in 1555, see, this is where the deception comes in. Because they wanted us to believe that we got here in 1619. But they didn't tell you about the 64 years that it took to break the first slaves that got here, the first generation of slaves. When they changed our names, changed our religion, changed our God. They stripped us of everything that reminded us of our homeland. And they forced us to the worst form of slavery that has ever been introduced to the modern world. They put us on auction blocks. They bought and sold mothers and daughters, fathers and sons, separated whole families, put us on plantation and made us live in slave quarters, made us work the cotton fields, made us build their homes, made us husbandmen and women of the cattle, made us feed their flocks. They whipped us horrendously with bullwhips, tearing the flesh and tearing the skin off. They raped our women, little girls, little boys and men. I think they called it buck breaking when they raped the men.
That's right.
Turning us into faggots. Men who didn't have the testicular fortitude to rise up and kill every damn one of them when they raped our women. My God. So no one has suffered what we suffered and gone through what we gone through. And then Abraham Lincoln came with the deception. Okay? He came with the deception as if he was setting black people free, but really he wanted to end the war between the Confederates and the Union.
You know,
okay.
You know, brother, let me just say something right there. I've said that to some folks. I was on a panel or, you know, on YouTube, and I made mention that Lincoln never really freed all slaves. It was economic sanctions against the South.
That's right.
He said there's a book called Bell's Capitalism and Slavery, which I read when I was in school. And it breaks down. There were letters from Lincoln in there, documents that showed that he would do anything he could to keep the Union together, even if it meant not freeing slaves. He didn't give a damn about us. Right. And so some black people have had this notion that somehow Lincoln freed all slaves when it was only a few that he freed in I think parts of Texas, if I'm not mistaken, but overall, you have a lot of your, what I would call your black conservatives, your staunch black conservatives who like to lay on that all the time about what makes the Republicans so good for black people when both parties are not worth a nickel. But I want to thank you for saying that statement. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, sir. Because one thing that we got to understand that there is a difference between emancipation and liberation. Mm-hmm. Black people were emancipated. They weren't liberated.
It's a difference.
See, and after we came up from slavery, we were confined to what you call sharecropping. See, and we still worked the fields for the slave master under the guise of emancipation, and they would pay us for our labor. But when we would go to the owners of the stores, okay, and we would go and buy goods and commerce from these Jewish people who own the stores, we still found out that we still owe them money, and they found different ways to keep us on the plantation through Reconstruction. And also they found other ways to keep us through on the plantations. If you committed a crime, you still are considered a slave. Okay, or if you were caught in certain parts of the country at a certain time because those people were given curfew, they were arrested and put back on the plantation. And the sad part about it, when the Union went to war with the Confederates and defeated them, all those who were affected by that war received a reparation. They received a reparation.
Now,
go ahead, beloved.
This is the emotional part of things. I listened to you speak upon, and I know it as well. You speak upon how they treated the women, how they would harm our ancestors that were pregnant, and how they would disembowel the babies out of the woman's stomach. And we know when you said about buck breaking, how they would take the biggest and strongest black man and they would actually solemnize him in front of everybody to kind of say, I can break down your biggest and your strongest.
Right.
To weaken him in front of this is the reason why you have a lot of black people. Well, let me say you have some black people who don't want us talking about this because I've been saying this, a lot of us don't want to deal with the pain of the history. It is a painful history that we don't want to deal with. And so we rather say, forget about it, don't talk about it. But the one thing I do realize, brother, is that when it comes to the Jewish community, they will talk about the Holocaust till they're blue in the face. They'll never make you forget it. They tell their kids never forget. And if I'm not mistaken, when I was much younger, and what was that? Schindler's List came out. They took a whole, I think it was they took a whole class of black kids to go see that movie.
Right.
And it made big news because I thought a lot of people were saying, well, what about, black people's what we've gone through? And then people will say, oh, we don't need to hear about that. And then I know that there's folks out here that say they're tired of looking at, I guess, slave movies because they don't want to see us being put in that light every time we think that we've made progress. But how important is it for us to never forget our history, brother?
Well, the reason why we should never forget what we have been through, because it would allow us to know where we are headed, where we are going.
Mm-hmm.
See, you don't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. See, and if we would be blind, deaf, and dumb enough to forget what happened to us, then we will go right back into the same captivity that our ancestors went into. Yeah. And we somewhat went through another form of slavery when we became integrated with this enemy. When the most honorable Elijah Muhammad was winning the war of separation from this open enemy, he was winning that war. But they had to counteract that his movement with the civil rights movement in pushing integration. But when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., after he had met with the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, his speeches began to change. His stance began to change. And when you go and look up on YouTube or Google, you can research for yourself when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said in an interview that he believed that he integrated his people into a burning house. Mm. So for the man who has been the biggest advocate for integration, see, we want to minimize our dear brother by just saying that he was the man who had the I have a dream speech. But we ignore the speeches that he gave 2 to 3 years before his assassination. The brother was growing. He was no longer going to be a puppet for the enemy. Mm. He changed his stance. As a matter of fact, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that we must redistribute the pain. Because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that this enemy is disagreeable to live with. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He's disagreeable to live with. So under no circumstance should we have integrated with a devil or the mayonnaise man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, let me ask you, I have my people always often say, if we were to get reparations, what form would it be in? I have my own ideology as to how that could go about. I want to ask you sometime down the line, but I can't ask you that before I get to this one important question that was part of your program last night. Do for self. I'm going to ask you a hard question here, brother. Do you believe that Black people, as it stands right now, are unified enough? Now, I know the nation. I know what the nation is doing. You unified in the nation. Every family is going to have its problems. Nobody is perfect. No organization, but there's some that are doing a hell of a lot more than others. given what the nation's philosophy is in terms of how you deal with your women deal with you, the respect that the women have for their men, and you see all the stuff that goes on YouTube with this issue between women and black men not getting along, the question begs, are we unified enough to be able to make a demand for that which we should be due? Because I've always learned that power conceives nothing without a demand.
That's right.
We can't ask, we can't beg, we must demand. That's why the Native Americans, 17 tribes, some Negroes would say, oh, that's 17 tribes, but I don't care. The Native Americans made a demand and they got something out of Obama. Latinos, the Hispanic population, they made a demand and got something out of Obama. The gay community, LGBTQT, they made a demand and got something, right? But for the like for me, I don't know when black people as a whole have had a legitimate black agenda to lay down on the line for something that we can unify. That's why I think ADOS is so powerful, because it's very specific, right? You got Kamala Harris running around, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Bernie don't want to do nothing for reparations Sanders. And they're trying to get us into this, playing this game with us about, well, it's going to be trickle down politics. If I do this for this group, it's going to help black people. No, we're tired of playing that game. We want something specific to us. However, are we in a position to be able to make that demand, brother? And I'll rest the mic.
Yes, sir. Thank you, dear brother, for your question. There's a saying in the Bible, and it's powerful. It's very powerful. And what you said was just powerful, dear beloved.
Thank you, brother.
1 second. You can tell one has passed from death into life is when he loves the brotherhood, when he loves the sisterhood. See, I believe, according to our teachings, the way our teachings are set up, we can accomplish anything when we are under the banner of do for self. But if we are so disunited to where that we won't even be able to do for self, we won't even be able to concede of a demand for reparations.
Mm-hmm.
Now we must be real and be honest with ourselves. Now, if we are a disunited nation within a nation with 40 to 50 black men and women here in the hills and wilderness of North America,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone has a different agenda based on ideology, based on religion, based on social economics, and we don't put forth a collective agenda, we will never be able to succeed in what we are trying to accomplish. See, my question to those who's down with the ADOS, African Descendants of Slaves. Again, I love the name, the title. But the question is, what are we demanding? See, if you just demanding some money and you just trying to get the bag, okay, that means that we are thinking very little of our potential. We are still blind, deaf, and dumb. Why do I say that? Because the scripture teaches us that a fool and his money will soon depart. See, and we right now in this condition are a foolish nation. We are foolish people. We have a spending power of $1.1 trillion. Okay, that's just in our community, that's coming through our hands. okay, in the Black community. But let's think of the things that the foolish things that we spend our money on. Weed, cigarettes, alcohol, gambling, Walmart, Target, McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Nothing that can benefit us as a community. And also, dear brother, I have some statistics on my computer. If you would share my screen, I would, love to show the viewers some actual numbers, some hard numbers to show what we are dealing with. Because if we are just asking for money and not land, then we have our priorities all backwards. Our priorities isn't right.
Let me do this. Let me give a shout out to Thompson, who super chatted me. I appreciate you doing that. Let me give you a clap for that. Okay. Oh, we got Uber guy who just gave me a super chat. Clap for you too, brother. Now, Uber guy says we need to do for self is the answer. Always be respect. And then I believe that Thompson said that we should not. Thomas said that we should not spend any money on March the 5th. Made a statement about that. We got Andre Toppin Jr. in the house. We've got my man Prophet of Thought. Prophet of Thought, stick around, brother, because I will be sending you a link to join the panel discussion as we get through this portion of the show. And because this is going to be about truth. Let me just say that again, truth.
Tell the truth.
Look, this is the thing about your show and what I'm trying to do over here. I want to have and continue to have intelligent conversation about the issues. Right. Too often on YouTube, we get into these arguments. Let me show you how big I am, how much knowledge I have. These arguments that doesn't lead us down any right path.
Right.
What you're doing, brother, is you're breaking it down. Very, very, very powerful. Because there are going to be some naysayers out there listening who are going to say, well, how you going to give this money out to Black folks? Because you got some people that gonna claim this, gonna claim that, like $5 Indian. We're gonna get into that. I've got my reasons how you can do this. Brother Fletch, he's got his ideas. We're gonna get into it. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna share, I'm gonna put you on the screen. You're gonna dominate the screen so that you can show the numbers. And while you're doing that, I'm gonna be listening, but at the same time trying to identify folks that I want to get on this panel that I've got to. So go ahead, brother. Here we go. I'm about to, this is what we're going to do. How can I do this? We're going to share the screen. Okay. I think the screen is all yours, brother. And everybody out there listening, help us out. I'm going to look at my screen right here and see if what you're showing is going to show this whole screen. If not, I know what I have to do. Wait a minute. Maybe this is what I have to do. That's what I have to do. There we go, right there. Okay, brother, it's all yours.
Okay, just let me know if you all can see my screen. If you can see my screen, family, just press 1. Not me. I have a picture on the screen.
Okay.
I don't know if they can see that.
No, I don't.
Do I have to press screen share?
Yeah, you gotta. I've got it where you're the dominant person on the screen right now.
Okay.
Whatever you got on your computer, it should show up. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there you go. Do it like that.
Okay, cool.
There you go. There you go. Right on.
Cool.
All right.
Man, this technology stuff is amazing.
Okay, now we can see it, brother.
Okay.
Right.
So this is what I'm going to do, family. I'm going to read some of this article, and then I'm going to go to some of the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And let me know what is being said going to make sense after I'm done. Okay, it's like a little mini presentation. Okay, courtesy of the Information Man Show. So please give that brother a thumbs up and press that one button if you can see and you can hear me clearly, because we definitely about to get this work. So the name of this article is called Black Impact: Consumer Categories Where African Americans Move Markets. Okay. Black consumers are speaking directly to brands in unprecedented ways and achieving headline-making results. Throughout 2017, popular brands witnessed the power of Black Twitter and the brand impact of socially conscious Black consumers. Through social media, Black consumers have brokered a seat at the table and are demanding that brands and marketers speak to them in ways that resonate culturally and experientially if these brands want their business. And with African Americans spending $1.2 trillion annually, brands have a lot to lose. Brands have a lot to lose, family, if we just take our dollars away from these major brands. Okay? It says, diving into the dollars spent, Black consumers and consumers of color alike are making considerable contributions to the overall market, in some cases representing more than 50% of the overall spending in key product categories. For example, half of the total spend, $941 million on dry grains and vegetables in the U.S. in 2017 came from consumers of color, and Black consumers represented $147 million of the total spend in this category, which has recently made advances in product creation to meet the demands of their diverse buyers. So one thing that they're showing is that we are the majority in all of these categories when it comes to spending in America. Now, when you look at this chart right here, okay, you see the chart. It says, let me blow it up a little bit. The power of the multicultural consumer dollar. Categories where consumers of color exert outsized influence on total spend. And you have the different categories. You got the dry vegetable and grains, baby food, personal soap and bath needs, fresheners and deodorizers, shelf-stable juices and drinks. Okay, here's the total spend in the black bold numbers. Right here to your right, the total spend where my arrow is. In the first category, you have $941.2 million totally between all the races. But to your left, where it says spend by consumers of color in the green highlight, out of the $941.2 million, we spend $472.3 million. That's almost half. We spend almost half in the category of dry vegetables and grains. Okay, let's go to baby food, because we know Black people are having children, we having babies. In the total spend category, it is $1.9 billion. But guess how much Black people is spending on baby food? Because you know we having babies. We spending $817 million out of $1.9 billion.
Wow.
So we are spending almost $1 billion just on baby food. So imagine if we had Black businesses who were manufacturing and producing and distributing baby food, how wealthy the Black community can become just off of baby food. Now, let me kind of scroll down just a little bit. Okay, let me read this part right here. Mainstream manufacturers across other industries are also seizing the opportunity to create specific products that appeal They're trying to appeal to diverse consumers, more specifically the Black community. Not so surprisingly, African Americans have cornered the ethnic hair and beauty market, because you know Black people spend lots of money on beauty products and hair. More specifically, Black women spending that money.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, what do you have the numbers for? And it's not to throw any shade towards Black women, but I think once I found some numbers that were like in the billions of dollars.
Oh, we about to show the numbers right now, beloved.
About how much hair Black women are actually purchasing.
Right.
And once again, this is no shade towards Black women. It's just showing you as a consumer base, Black people, we have some economic power. It's just where we choose to place our economics
Right.
is sometimes problematic. But go ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. So it says, not so surprisingly, African Americans have cornered the ethnic hair and beauty market, ringing up to $54 million of the $63 million total industry spend in 2017. So out of the $63 million we are spending, out of the $63 million that was spent, we make up $54 million out of the $63 million. But marketers should find it interesting that Black consumers aren't just spending on products created specifically to appeal to them. In fact, in terms of sheer dollars, African Americans spent considerably more money in the general beauty marketplace last year. Black shoppers spent $473 million in total hair care, a $4.2 billion industry, and made other significant investments in personal appearance products such as grooming aids, $127 million out of $889 million, and skincare preparations was $465 million out of $3 billion. See, and African Americans make up 14% of the U.S. population, but have outsized influence over spending on essential items such as personal soap and bath needs, which is $573 million. Feminine hygiene products is $54 million, and men's toiletries, which is $61 million. Okay, so Black people are the biggest consumers in the United States. But we only make up 14% of the US population. Why? Because we are a consumer nation. These are just the numbers. So right here, you have the power of Black dollars. The power of Black dollars. So you have different categories of where we are spending our money. You can find this on the website, on the Nielsen website, family, the Nielsen and Company website. They do a lot of research. They have some good research as well. And it says categories where the percentage of Black spending is greater in proportion of their population. Different categories. You got health, hair, and beauty aids, women's fragrances, feminine hygiene, men toiletries, personal soap. Imagine if we was making all this stuff. Frozen, unprepared meat and seafood, refrigerated juices and drinks. Well, let's look at the numbers. On the right again, you have the total spend, which is in the black bold letters, and you have the Black spend in the red highlight on your left. Let me kind of blow it up again. Okay, the total spend on ethnic hair and beauty aids is $63.5 million. But guess how much Black people are spending? $54.4 million. Okay, let's go to food. Refrigerated juices and drinks is $3.3 billion a year, and we are spending $578.2 million. See? If you just look at the numbers, The numbers are astronomical as far as the money that we are spending compared to everybody else in the nation, and we only make up 14% in the United States. So let me show you something that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has stated in his lecture, which is called "Do for Self or Suffer the Consequences." Okay.
Okay, brother.
Now, yes, sir. Go ahead, brother.
No, I'm listening. Go right ahead.
Okay. So now, the minister said in the Final Call newspaper, this is an excerpt from his lecture, "Do for self or suffer the consequences." And he talked about the financial institutions in the Black community. So I'm going to read some of this, and I'm going to kind of let you all understand the direction that we should be headed. Okay? So I'm going to read something. It says, "We must make the business world more accountable to us also. Take for an example the situation of banks and their relationship to the Black community. Black people put millions of dollars into these banks, but get little or no benefits in return. They take our money and invest it, but the Black community reaps nothing because the banks do not invest within the Black community. They take our money and build houses that we cannot live in. We can no longer tolerate this behavior. The banks that we do business with must become more responsive to our needs. Another example is the insurance companies, especially Black-owned insurance companies. We want to see these insurance companies invest back into our communities." And then he has another portion that says, "Spend money wisely." So we just got through showing charts the way Black people spend money and what they're spending money on, but all of this stuff that we are spending money on isn't Black-owned. See, that's the horrific part about it. I can see we were spending all that money and it was coming back to our community, but that money that is spent leaves our community. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this in his monumental book, "Message to the Black Man in America." He writes, "There is no need for us millions throughout the country spending our money for the joy and happiness of others. As a result, as soon as we are thrown out of a job, we are back at the doors of white people, begging for bread and soup. How many clothing shops do we operate in the country? Very few. Yet all of us wear clothes. Who made our clothes for us? Who sold them to us? We have a few grocery stores, but this is not enough to feed, at the time, 30 million Black people in America. Should we not have clothing factories making clothes for ourselves? Should we not have more stores to sell our people everything that they want or need?"
Sister, you gotta mute yourself. You gotta mute your others. We have a sister that's on the panel. You gotta mute, sister. We're getting the feedback.
We good? I think we good. I'll continue. At one point in the history of this country, the Black man picked cotton for white people. We must now pick cotton for ourselves and turn it into lint and cloth so that we can make clothing for our people. Why should we continue to be the slaves of these freaks from Europe who are designing the indecent styles of clothing that Black people are wearing? Look at us. We all wear shoes, but we have no shoe factories. If the cattle gives its hides to the Caucasian people so that they can take the hide, tan it, and make shoes for themselves, would not the same cattle give their hides to you and me? Was it not a Black man who invented the machine which revolutionized the shoe industry? Yet we profit nothing from his genius. Okay, so my appeal, family, to my brothers and sisters, is, yes, let's continue. Hold on, I'm seeing two of me. Let me make sure I'm done sharing the screen.
Let me ask you a question. Are you finished with sharing anything on the screen? Because I can just take the reason why you're seeing two of you, because I got you basically shared to the screen. I can just I can disengage you now. That's why you're seeing.
Okay, yes, sir, I'm done with that portion.
Okay, then let me do this. Let me disengage you. And there we go. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
yes, sir.
Right ahead. We have sister. Wait a minute. Let me be respectful. Go ahead, sister, and introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Peace.
Yeah, it's just that we need to go. Oh, okay.
And I'm listening in, and I'm hearing the brother. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Queen.
Okay. And I think he's doing a very good job. I can't find any reason why you would disagree with any of the material. I think it's on point. A lot of it is what we have been saying, or what people have been saying. So I don't think that many people are in disagreement.
What is? Let me get, while you're on here, sister. Let me get what is your opinion or your view of what ADOS means to you?
Okay. After listening to, for a few months now, and I think it's probably, I think it's already conscious. And to me, it says that you acknowledge that you do not exactly know exactly, you don't want to exactly say African American. And even though it is included, I understand, because I think we're using the term American, I think it includes everybody up into this point. So I think it's very good. And I also see it as a stepping stone, but I don't mean to diminish it in any way. I think that it gives us a lot of opportunity, because I don't think it's proper to look at something and say we want to totally depend on one outcome. So what I think it does is it gives you an opportunity to say, well, suppose it takes a very long time for people to understand how we feel about what has happened and what is happening. So then you would have to also include how much time do you have for this? And if in a certain amount of time this doesn't go as planned or go well, what are you going to do? So that's why I understand your title there when it says do for self, because at some point you're going to have to decide, well, if this doesn't completely go the way you would like to see it go, what else can we do?
Right.
Let me ask you another question, sister. What is your opinion about the naysayers? Now, you got a lot of, well, let me just correct that. You've got some black people in the so-called main media, mass media, whatever we call it. And you've got black folks on YouTube and black folks just all over, and some aspects that don't agree with this. What do you say to some that would say, well, you're identifying yourself? I'm going to bring someone on controversial in a minute, and that's RBR. I'm going to make it a little controversial now. What do you say about those that say, we're not slaves? Why are we identifying ourselves with slaves? And as you speak to that, I'm going to bring in one RBR to spice things up tonight.
Well, it gives your recognition to your past. And even if you're not saying you're not under modern day slave conditions, we are going through those remnants of slavery. And until those type of things change from over our heads, it's going to be a very tough struggle, like how it's been. But when you're with your naysayers, you know, I've been listening. I truly have. But you know what I came up with? I said, well, if there was a petition says that, okay, everybody that wants their shit, wants their own $3 million, sign the petition. So in itself, you know, if you don't want to sign it, you don't sign it. But those who sign it say, I'm signing it for this $3 million. And that's really how I look at the naysayers. If you don't want to sign it or support it, it really says it's really better for those that do, because if you don't do it, I mean, you got to look at it actually the way how the actually in reality. If you're going to step up and you're going to say something has to be done, then you are admitting and you are aware that something has to be done. If you understand where you are or where we are, and if we're back, then you understand where we have to move forward. It doesn't matter who moves you forward. It doesn't matter who does it for you. It has to be done. So if one overall plan doesn't go as well, it still has to be done. And the same way how you feel like it's not being done for you, how can you say, well, it's not that important because here comes the next generation. And there's no need for them to have the same same complaints that we have. We understand consciously it has to be done. So I think that ADOS gives us a very, very fresh start. I'm not sure how long it's been progressing, but overall it still has to be done. And if we can't get it the way you want it, then you have to look at support system under, I think, the major support system, which could probably be ADOS.
Okay, let me before you go on, let me give some respect to Sister Donna, who super chatted me earlier. And Sister Donna, we got to do a show together. I appreciate you coming over and super chatting me. I really appreciate that. Donna Just Being Real. She goes by the name Donna Just Being Real. Go check her out. Check out her channel. Let me. I thought I gave her. Okay, she does have a moderate. And then we got the Inner Beauty TV by Nicole Michelle. Y'all got to go check out Inner Beauty TV by Nicole Michelle. She is the truth. She gets into conversations related to women, ladies, relationships, attracting the man that you want. Go check her out. And let me also say to everybody out there, make sure you check out the Black Brain Trust. I'm going to say it again, the Black Brain Trust. They are the truth. Now, we got my man on here, B Miles. Are you there, brother? B Miles 84 of the Conscious Channel.
Yeah, what's up, bro? Yeah, what's going on, bro?
Woo, I'm glad that you could come aboard at late notice. So you, brother, we got me and I gotta be honest, brother Malcolm Fletch TV, brother B Miles, you gotta check this brother out, support his channel. The brother is the truth. Y'all gotta do some collab. Y'all gotta do some things together. He did an incredible video yesterday about this issue of reparations, do for self, and ADOS. And he said, man, we gotta put a pound together. We gotta do something today, brother. So have you had a chance to, I don't know if you had a chance to hear what we've been talking about so far, but the brother laid it out. He put out the numbers about our spending power in this society, the things that we spend our money on. And the question that I brought up is that, are we unified as a people economically to be able to make a demand in the way that we want to make this demand? Are we unbalanced? Are we disjointed? Because we got some that say, oh, you ain't gonna do this, you ain't gonna get that. What are you doing? And I believe personally that we can ride a bike, chew gum, and ride a bicycle, or whatever. We can do all kind of multi types of things when we put our mind to it. But what are your thoughts so far?
Well, I'm gonna say like us as a people, man. I'm gonna say like we really not as united as we should be, but I definitely will say by this whole entire ADOS movement has come along and it has really set a code for our people. I really start to see our people start to get on code and start to get unified now. Because in the beginning, I'm gonna say a few years ago, under the Obama years, like we were really like we were very like indecisive, we were very divided as a people. Now I'm gonna say collectively as a people, we did well by voting for him, but the thing was, it was a trick. So I'm gonna say that so I'm gonna say in one aspect, like it's not there as it should be, but I really do say right now, the unity of our people is really starting to come together with this whole entire ADOS movement because, by staking our claim up here in the United States and all that, and we really, understanding that, we have been played for a very long time, by these politicians and even these immigrants and even a lot of these black immigrants to come over here. A lot of times they don't want to align themselves with us. So now that we are getting on code now that we are, starting to become tribal as a group, I'm really starting to see the unity come together as our people because we really starting to point out, a lot of the hypocrisies of the things that a lot of these illegal aliens come over here, what they do, and a lot of black immigrants, when they come over from Africa, the Caribbean, and even Latin America. Now, I do see, some of the immigrants, coming along. I do see a lot of brothers and sisters from the Caribbean and Latin America. They join on, but as far as a whole, it's not really reciprocated. So I'm seeing our people that we're getting on code and we're responding to the call, and I'm gonna see that our unity is coming together because the waking giant that we've been waiting for is finally waking up.
Okay, let me give a shout out to, if I'm not mistaken, 3M gave me a super chat. I don't think I got a chance to see it at the time because I had moved to another part of my computer. I was looking at something else as the brother was giving the presentation and presenting numbers to us. So 3M, thank you for super chatting. I appreciate it. And let me go over to right now. And Brother B. Miles, I hope you can stay with us a little bit longer.
Yeah,
you can. I did send a link out to the elder Baba Rashad. If he comes on, that'd be great. Let me get over to Prophet of Thought and then work it back to our main guest of the hour, which is Brother Malcolm Fletch TV. And make sure you check out his channel, everybody. I'm going to put his channel in the chat room. It's also in the description of this video as well, folks. And Brother Prophet of Thought series, I'm glad to have you here, brother. Go right ahead. I want to hear what you have to say.
Peace, Brother Info. Thanks for having me on. Peace to all the brothers on the chat.
Peace, beloved.
Peace to everybody on the panel. What's good? I like Brother Flex. I like his message. I've been on a panel with him before, so I'm familiar, with what he talks about. And, I'm with him. I mean, especially when you talk about, how we spend money. I mean, I know everybody is on the ADOS thing right now, but I think that's a long way off. So, I mean, if it's bound to happen, it's a long way off. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week, next month, next year. It's a ways off. Some of us may not even live to see it. That's just a fact. So I think what we need to do in the meantime is try to get our collective spending in order. We need to do that. Because like I said, if those reparations do come, they're not coming tomorrow. So while we're sitting back waiting for those reparations, if that's what we choose to do, we need to think about what we spend. I mean, we spend how much? $3 billion on tobacco. We spend $3 billion on whiskey, wine, beer. We spend $3 billion on leisure time. We spend $3 billion on toys, video games, another $18 billion on telephone services. I mean, I can go on and on and on. So, I mean, we need to get our spending power in order right now. Okay, that's something the whole ADOS is overlooking. I mean, we're talking about what we may deserve. We're talking about what we may get. But no one's talking about what we need to do today or tomorrow. So that's what my problem is, because if we're all going to sit back and wait for the quote unquote reparations, I mean, we know it's going to be a long drawn out process. We have to. Okay, we have to understand that it's not going to happen, anytime soon, if it happens at all. So we need to go ahead and focus on not only just our spending habits, but teaching our children, to be better with their spending habits as well, man. I mean, when you talk about the black dollar, right? What are we talking about, man? The black dollar spends 6 hours in the black community, right?
Damn.
6 hours in the black community. The white dollar spends what, 12 days in their community.
Right.
The Asian and the Jewish dollar spends freaking 20 days in their community before it leaves. So I mean, we have to be concerned with that, because see, if they happen to throw us some money or some land, if we don't get our spending habits, man, and our saving habits and our consumer habits in check, many of us ain't gonna do nothing, man, but squander it.
Right.
That's the facts, man. A lot of us are not going to do anything but squander it. Just look at what happened in Katrina, right? Many years ago in Katrina, people lost their houses, lost their livelihood. And what did they do? They threw a bunch of money at people. You think many of those people went out and bought a little hoopty car to try to get a job with? You think those people took that money and tried to set themselves out in a place in another city where they can do better? Most of those people, excuse me, to the tune of about 55%, most of those people spent money on BS. They bought sneakers, big screen TVs, gold teeth, and all that kind of stuff. This is what a lot of them did with the money. This is what a lot of them did. People don't know about that. People don't know about that. So, I mean, when we talking about getting reparations, man, we need to start talking about what we're going to do with it as well. Period. We need to talk about what we're going to do with it if and when we get it. That's it. I'll rest on that. No, people don't like to hear these things, man, but this is what it is. I mean, this is what it is, brothers.
Right.
Okay, so brother Prophet of Thought, you gave us some reality, and we need to have reality. We need to be able to talk about this issue in a non-emotional manner, because I don't expect that they're just going to give us anything. But brother Malcolm Fletch, what are your thoughts about what brother Prophet of Thought series just stated?
Yes, sir. I think the brother is right and exact. I believe the brother is definitely on point, because why do we ask for people to do for us what we can do for ourselves? All people are like Lazarus in the Bible, sitting at the rich man's table, begging for the crumbs off of his table, when we can just go ahead and create our own table for ourselves. See, and it's okay to ask for reparations. We all on this panel can make a case for reparations. That goes without a doubt in my mind, that we all can make a case. I mean, some of us who are the least educated can make a case for reparations, okay? But like our dear brother said, Prophet of Thought, that we will spend more time waiting and asking for them what we can do for ourselves. And so I'm not against ADOS and what they believe and trying to get reparations. I'm not against reparations, but when we are dealing with a people that are so satanic, a people that are so wicked, when our leaders went to Durban, I believe in 2001, to present the case of civil rights and crimes against humanity, against all those who played a major role in the transatlantic slave trade, to receive some type of reparatory justice. And then these nations that were guilty of this horrendous crime against humanity, they had the nerve to get up and walk out of the conference. So that goes to show you what they think about black men and women who face the worst crime known to man in the annals of history that they would get up and walk out of the conference, that's a slap in the face. So will we continue to take disrespect in the face of our enemies, or will we be self-respecting men and women and say, you know what, we're going to do for self? Because no real man is going to wait and expect another man to pay his rent, to pay his bills, to feed his family. So it is important that every man has the willpower to get his behind up and say, you know what, I'm finna go work and get mines for me and my family. But we have to do this collectively as a community. So I appreciate the ADOS that, you know, we want to be exclusive to ourselves and build our nation up first, build our house up first. But at the same time, we can't necessarily turn our backs on the rest of the original family that are willing to assist us once we are able to pick ourselves up. See, and we can't, like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad once said, that we can't go to the rest of the world with our slave master's name, because they're not going to respect us when we got our slave master's name. But when we take our own names, we become our own men and women. Okay? People will have more respect for us. People be more willing to help us because we will no longer be the white man's nigga, the white man's Frankenstein. Excuse me, the mayonnaise man. We will no longer be his Frankenstein. We will become whole men and women again. There are many brothers and sisters around the world, original family, that are ready and willing to help us. But just like on some regular stuff, like if I'm a man and I get into it with somebody and I won't fight for myself, somebody's not going to fight for me if I'm not willing to fight for myself. And that's what we are dealing with. So we have to become unified, not just financially, but we have to become unified in our thinking. We're not even unified in our thinking. And that's where it begins. You know, when we can put our petty differences to the side, because most of our differences are petty, regardless to how big we may want to blow and sensationalize and want to blow it up, our differences are really petty. We really don't have no legitimate beefs with one another. So once we unify our thinking, then like Brother Prophet of Thought said, then we can regulate our spending habits. Then when we go, see, we already building ourselves up. We are getting wealthy because we are recycling black dollars. Okay, we are getting wealthy off ourselves. We don't necessarily need a reparations. A reparations will be extra. We already got what we needed from each other, but reparations would be extra, like Prophet of Thought said. It would be a long and drawn out process. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. But you know what we can do? We can make sure that the black dollar circulate in our community longer than 6 hours. Because as soon as the black dollar enters the black community, it goes right back out of the community. See, and we have many brothers and sisters that are well qualified to help build this nation that we are trying to build. But many of them with degrees and certificates, they taking their talents and their abilities outside of the community, building the mayonnaise man's world instead of building the black world. And that's how we unite the minds. That's how we unite the thinking, when we are thinking black first. And everybody else comes after that.
Brother Info, I got a question. I got a question for everybody on this panel and everybody in the chat room too, and who's ever listening. I mean, when we talk about these ADOS reparations, I mean, that's why I say it's going to be a long, drawn out process. Because number one, we haven't even distinguished who's going to get it and who's not going to get it. Because if it drops down, you already know not everybody's getting it. Okay, not everybody's going to get it. I mean, I know it sounds like this magnificent thing, you know, that we should strive for as Black folks, but the reality is only certain people who are designated to get it will get it. We already know that.
Yes.
So what about the other people? What are they going to do?
Let me
Are they gonna go off and boo-hoo and cry because they didn't get their reparation check or their reparation land or their reparation house or their reparation whatever? I mean, that's why I said what I said. I mean, you know, we have to think beyond that. We have to think bigger than that. I mean, I've talked to many brothers. You know, I talked to the BGSs. I talked to the Afro Synergies. I talked to Brother Muhammad about this, you know, reparation thing. And the facts of this, many of us won't get it anyway. Many of us won't get it.
It's true.
Many of us don't need it.
It's true. Let me have Brother B Miles 84 at the Conscious Channel speak to that issue. So, Brother B Miles, you're out there in Baltimore, Maryland, where I was born, brother. I've heard you talk pretty fierce about this. Some people got to hold their own nuts, as you say. Let me find that sound bite where you say that. But what are your thoughts? Some people, and I'm prepared to say that, as sad as it may be, that not everybody's gonna make it into the promised land. That's just,
right.
You know,
True.
Right. And see, that's
Miles.
right, and that's the reality of it, though, man. And you know, the brother Prophet of Thought, he really says something, you know, that really struck a chord as well. You know, if we're going to be going for reparations, we got to understand, man, like all of our people are not going to receive it. And that's the reason why, you know, I agree with him. You know, you know, it has to be designated, you know, for a specific group. You know, like a prime example, civil rights was supposed to go to, you know what I mean, like so-called blacks. You know what I'm saying? But that was when they wound up changing the word to minority. That's when they started to like have other groups to come over here to reap the rewards and the benefits of our struggle. And it's never reciprocated. So I feel as though, like I said, like with the ADOS, man, I find it to be great because it's showing, you know, how, you know, us as a people, how we can come together and how we can come together collectively on one mindset. But I do agree with the brother, you know, at first we got to come together collectively as one people. That means all the organizations down got to come together, from the Moon Science Temple, the Nation of Islam, the Hebrew Israelites, the 5% Nation, you know what I mean, brothers and sisters. So, you know what I mean, from the Pan-African movement, you know what I mean, all these movements that we have, man, we got to start thinking together collectively as a people, you know what I'm saying, first. Because I do understand that the reparation process is going to be a long, drawn-out process, because we have to come to the realization is that, you know, these people don't really want us to get that type of reparation anyway. That's first got to be on our mindset. And as far as, like I was saying, like other groups and all that, I totally agree how our people get in the, I put it like this now. The brothers and sisters who recognize and identify, who you know what I mean, who recognize we are the same people, I don't mind them. But as far as the ones who want to ride the coattails of our struggle, I feel as though that those people should not receive it, because they've always come over here and get our benefits and turn around and benefit a lot more better than us, and they come over here and look down on us. You know, that's one of my grievances, the reason why I say that some of them should not get it. Now, I do feel as though that brothers, you know what I mean, that brothers and sisters who are part of the original family, which is over here in the Western Hemisphere, I do believe that all of us over here should get it. But we got to think, you know what I mean, as a collective first. You know what I mean? That like the brother was saying, you know, we got to put aside all the petty differences. You know, we are beefing over the smallest things about nothing. You feel me? So we got to get past that. You know, first we got to go through a mental revolution. Then it got to be a culture revolution. And that way we can have a real big evolution as a people. Then that way, you know what I mean, that we can finally move forward to where, as though if we all thinking that's the collective, guess what? We can gather all of our resources. We can gather the best of our best minds. We can gather all of the best talent, and we can do things for ourselves, to the point where all the money that we make, we spend $1.3 trillion a year. Just imagine if all of the money is circulating through the hands of us as melanated people up here in the United States and throughout the Americas. That is what I call being powerful. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it himself. Our unity is more stronger than an atomic bomb.
That's right.
Once we recognize that as a people, like I said, I do like the fact how the ADOS is getting our people on code. I like that. You feel me? I do like the fact how they talking about tangibles. You know what I'm saying? But it seemed like once we got on code, other groups of people started to come out against us. And no, we were only just pointing out the hypocrisy of how they come over here and get out, you know what I mean, get benefits that they have not earned or fought for, and then look down on the same people, you know, who helped them benefit.
Right.
Well,
And I real quick, brother, I agree with Brother B Miles exactly what he said as far as them getting the benefits that we should get. And I agree 100%. And the point that I was trying to make is when we shouldn't forget about the original family. What I'm saying is when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was amongst us, he was able to have trade and commerce between different nations. He had a $1 billion fish import with Peru and other nations. You know what I mean? So as far as that, I don't mean by them getting benefits that we should have. I'm just mean by being able to trade with other brothers and sisters across the world. That's all I mean.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And I agree with the brother. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, you know, while we have things up here, we can connect with other brothers and sisters to where so we can all operate, you know what I'm saying, as one throughout the diaspora. You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, it wasn't me trying to like diss them brothers and sisters, because like I said, there's a lot of them who recognize and identify, you know, that we are the same people. And I'm only looking to link up with those brothers and sisters who are ready, you know, to lock arms up here with us.
Okay, let me just say this. It's already been documented. I've done a video on it. We talked about it, Brother B Miles, and we did a video on it together. The brothers in the Caribbean, the brothers in the UK, the brothers in Haiti, the brothers that are in Africa, the continent of Africa, all of them globally are fighting for a reparation that is specifically tailored to what happened to them. So like, for example, in South Africa, where you have folks over there saying, hey, they got to go. The mayonnaise man's got to go. He won our land. Now, I, a black man born in America, raised here, who am I to get involved in their business and tell them how they should go about their liberation? Right? I would be out of place to be telling them that they shouldn't do A, B, and C. Right. So I think all other black folks in the diaspora are battling for what they see fit. I think the brothers in Jamaica are speaking up for what they see fit. I think I might bring Brother Life Machine Power on here so he can give the Caribbean perspective. That's what's going on. So as a people, as you would definitely like this, Brother B Miles, we've got to hold our own nuts.
Yeah, what's going on, family? Shaman B Miles coming to you once again.
Okay. And I thought that was the sound bite that I was looking for. But let me go over. I'm going to go over to Brother Art, who's on with us. But sister that's on the panel, do you have anything that you want to add as you've heard some of the things that the brothers have said before I go over to Brother Art?
Only one additional comment, and I believe it's to the prophet. I'm sorry if I can't remember the whole entire title for his
Prophet of Thought
series. Of Thought. And I'm not saying this to be an advocate in any way, but people, and I think everybody made this general this general analyzation that, you know, we overspend and we spend in very bad places. But the point or the basis is people are going to buy what they can afford. And when you listen to what we do spend in, those are the type of things that would you look at the majority, I guess, of income status, you're buying things that you can afford. And then in the long run, you're buying things that you hope that will probably help you to generate more income. So it's a give and take. And it's not to defend us for spending sometimes out of our means, but it's just to say that people are just going to generally buy what they can afford. And we always have those that outdo some of us, but your basic things and a lot of things that we spend in, those are the things that we probably can just afford to buy over and over. But yeah, there is a need to become collective and not be so dependent on others for survival. But generally, people are just going to buy what they can afford.
Mm. I get that, sister, but I think overall we have to be honest. Black people, we are the biggest consumers in this society, and sometimes we have a habit. I'm guilty of this too. All of us, in some way or fashion, we're guilty of buying what we want and begging for what we need. Okay. So if our kids need, oh, we need the computers in the school for our kids. All our kids need recreation programs. Can you please help us, government? Please fund it. We beg for that. We beg, and the politicians play us off like suckers. So that is a problem, because if we could figure out a way to use those principles in Kwanzaa about cooperative economics, working together, making that dollar cycle within our own community. Come on now. We're probably the only people in this society where other people can move into our communities and sell us goods. Okay. And we will support them. Even when we go into the beauty stores and they treat us poorly, we'll keep going back and buying the Afro Sheen and the Sport and Wave and the Weaves and all this kind of stuff with people who don't even like us, because we're so compelled to want to always, or some of us, to consume. And that is a problem for us, which gets back to whether we have it in us to be unified enough to make a demand. So my position is not about asking for reparations. It's about demanding it and taking it from a legal point of view. When I look at this, and I can speak to this because I do have heritage as it relates to the freemen, and the freemen have been battling with the Cherokee, who have been trying to keep them out of getting any type of recognition in the tribe or money and proceeds. And those tribes that got money out of Obama is because they kept suing and suing. They never gave up. They never said to themselves, we ain't never going to get any money. Because guess what? If they didn't get any money, they weren't going to get any money because they didn't conceive a demand based off of using the legal system to their advantage. I'm going to say that if Black people simply throw our hands up in the air and say we're not going to get anything, yes, you're not going to get anything when you just ask for it. But now if you put up a fight, you put up a demand, you use the legal system against it, there's a chance, there could be a chance if it could work. But ADOS or ADOS only is going to get its recognition if we have the numbers. We must have the numbers. And that's a big question mark, because some of us are divided as to whether we support this or not. And as Brother B. Miles says, sometimes you just got to hold your own nuts. All right. Brother Art. Brother Art, are you there?
Yeah, what's going on, family? What's going on? Assalamu alaikum, shalom, peace to everybody on the panel. Yes, sir,
Peace,
soldier.
brother. Peace.
What's good,
Yes,
brother
sir.
Art? My brother.
All right. Everybody's
Fine.
doing their thing. You know, I'm representing 54 and 27. Brother know what I'm talking about. So, anyhow, you guys are talking about reparations, correct?
Talking about reparations. Can we get them? How will we go about getting them? ADOS. Are we unified enough, Art, to make this really a true movement and not just a moment? And going back to the philosophy of the Nation of Islam, as Brother Malcolm Fletcher, TV, laid out in his program yesterday, we got to get back to doing for self and not begging the mayonnaise man to do that for ourselves, which we could do for ourselves, to do that for us, which we can do for ourselves. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I was on BGS's channel yesterday, and a gentleman he brought that up, and his whole thing was that we shouldn't get reparations because we're not ready, and so he pretty much got attacked. But I think the problem that we keep running into is that we're supposed to be lockstep and barrel to where we all supposed to have the same ideal when we get reparations, but we don't put that on Asians and Arabs Because if you go to like some of these Asian communities where it looks like they got things together, but a lot of these guys don't even know each other. They're not as together as we think they are. They just look, they just have similar looks and all that, but they got their own little thing. Um, you know, I mean, when you're talking about reparations as well, who is to say what you do, how do you use that money anyway? There's no rule behind it. What you're just trying to do is you get that repair of what has been taken away from you. So maybe you did pay some bills with it. Maybe you built a school. Maybe you built some businesses. Maybe you got some people jobs. Just think about, like, you have some people from the Hebrew Israelites representing. You got some people from the Nation of Islam representing, Moorish Science Temple. You increase their load to where they'd be able to do things on a larger scale. You have a lot of stuff. You got Omega Psi-Phi, Alpha Phi Alpha. You got all these different organizations. When you be able to increase their load, then they will find themselves closer to a common goal, because basically most of the time we're separated because of lack of resources. So when you start increasing that, bigger things will happen on larger scales. But I think we just got to get some of these naysayers just out of the way. I wouldn't even say disband them or anything, but you just have to move them aside so they can see how it's done, and then bring their faith to reality. Because sometimes when you lack in faith too much, you're just no good to the party. You destroy my high of success. And I'll leave it at that.
I want to bring it back over to our guest of honor, Malcolm Fletch TV, brother. Let's get into the tough bones and nails here.
Yes, sir.
I want you to lay out, if you had this thought already, how would we go about getting reparations to the masses of Black people who fit the ADOS ideology, who fit it from a cultural point of view? Because we already know in America right now, our Caribbean brothers from Africa, they may feel some kind of way. And I'm going to be honest with you, because I was listening to brother Pharaoh says that. He said that, the brothers from Africa, they deserve money because America is stealing resources from the continent every day. Okay.
Right.
Coltan for our cell phones, minerals, diamonds, all these precious things that are coming out of the continent. They can make a claim on the United States and globally as well, because they're using the continent's resources. However, you do have certain dictators, certain leaders in the continent that are sort of implicit in this kind of nonsense as well. You look at Nigeria, they're sitting on a gold mine of oil, but yet they've got the United States kind of manipulating them as well. But let's go down the line for each person. What it would be the ideal way that we could make this possible? How would you go about it? What form should it come in?
It should come in the form of land, and I'm going to explain why. See, when we are asking for money, now, America was built off of 300 and something years off of free labor, okay? And then she had, like you said, raped and robbed the continent, the motherland, okay? And the reason why Black people haven't received their reparations yet, because they ain't got it to give. If they was able to dish back that type of money, do you think that America right now would be $70 trillion in debt? And right now you can go on Google and they have a debt clock, and it's showing you that America is spiraling down into the abyss of hell. The debt is so bad. And from 1914, when they created the FBI, the IRS, and the Federal Reserve, ever since that time, we were probably like at $1 billion in debt, all the way now to $70 trillion in debt. So asking for money and to give it to people who mentally, spiritually isn't ready to receive that kind of money, you know, what I mean, it's not a great demand, but if we can get the land, see, we won't be able to really leave the money down to further generations, because you know how quick that money is gonna leave. You know, people got their tax money just recently, and that money gone already. Most of the people, you know. So imagine if we got some reparations, but if we can get some land, okay, if we can get some good fertile land, some arable land, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. You know what I'm saying? We have something that we can leave our descendants in the future behind, and they can feed their families and live off the land. So we have to quit with these quick fixes, these quick fix solutions. And we have to be coming up with long-term solutions that can be able to take care of the generations after us. Because me being a young 31-year-old man, I don't have a black man at that. I don't have any uncles or grandmothers that had anything that they left me behind that I can claim that I received from my ancestors, that I can leave to my descendants and pass down through generation. We need generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? People are just, because we living in a society to where, you know, we watch the music videos, rappers got the bling bling, they pulling up in the Rolls Royce Phantoms, they got the Rose Philippe watches, they got the grills in their mouth. It's a flashy lifestyle that America promotes back to the black community. As a matter of fact, they promote it to the world. So it is something that attracts us, okay? But it's only finite. You know what I'm saying? It's all an illusion. But what we got to do is the veil has to be lifted. The veil has to be lifted, and we got to say, hey, man, look, we ain't trying to be rich. We are trying to gain generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to be the solution. And the wealth is in the earth. The wealth is in the land. You know what I'm saying? Because it's okay to open up a business, but it is even more important to own the land that the business is sitting on top of. So my thing is, as a people, it's all about prioritizing. You know, we have to understand what our priorities should be. And it can't be a quick fix. It has to be a long-term solution.
All right, brother. Would anybody else like to tackle that question before I give my short answer or my statements? Prophet of thought.
Yeah, I'll take that. Me personally, I'm with Brother Flex on the land part, because land is very important, and land grows in value as time goes on. And once you have land, you can do whatever you want to it, on it. But I would venture to say that more important than land or money, if it was up to me, I would say give us sovereignty. And I'll explain to you what I mean. We should be sovereign from certain laws and procedures in certain jurisdictions. I mean, not to allow black folks to just run willy-nilly and do whatever they want, but we should be given a certain amount of diplomatic immunity. I mean, keep your money, give me my freedom, make it so I don't have to worry about getting pulled over by the police when I drive my car. Make it so I'm not accused of crimes that I did not commit. Make it so my woman can walk freely down the street and not be taunted, harassed, picked on, profiled. When we talk about what to give black folks as a reparation, how about you give us sovereignty, give us freedom, get out of our way. I will make my own money. I'll get my own damn land. All I need to know is that I have the freedom to move about this country freely, minus harassment, minus profiling, minus anything that we have went through for the past 4 500 years. Give me that. That would be enough for me. Keep your damn money.
Okay, I'm going to go before I say my piece. We got Sister Nicole Ali on the panel. I welcome her. We're talking about ADOS, sister. We're talking about reparations. And we're also talking about Do for Self. Brother Malcolm Fletch of Malcolm Fletch TV was doing a beautiful program. He's a part of the Nation of Islam, sister. He lives in the LA area as well. And he was doing a great job on his program last night, laying out the history, laying out the fact that we need to do for self. Are we even unified as a people in order to make this become a reality? So I just wanted to give you a little summary of what's going on. You heard the question. I think I was asking how reparations, what form would reparations come into? So let me go right over to Nicole Ali and let her speak to anything that's on her mind around this issue. And I'm glad to have you here with us, sister. It's been a while since you've been on a panel on my channel anyway. And,
Hey, good evening. I just got a call and just was listening a few minutes ago, but I mean, what was you had a question? I don't.
Yeah, the question was how would the form of reparation, what form would reparations come into play if you were yourself to come out with
we had a discussion about this on BGS's channel, Black State of the Union, that we did, and we went down a list of about 15 items discussing this. One would be tax exemption forever, any taxes, property tax, income tax, sales tax, we wouldn't have to pay that. Another would be through education. There were other ideas about exonerating individuals who have nonviolent convictions. Another was about I forget what it was exactly. What was it? Oh, obtaining land, obtaining land. And my specific item with the land was also obtaining control over and ownership over waterways. It's very important for training purposes and for food, agricultural purposes. Obtaining housing. If you get the land, then of course the housing with tax exemption all goes hand in hand. But I don't think it should necessarily just be money. But if there was money on the table to be distributed to ADOS, then people worry about, oh, well, how are we going to spend the money? No one asks anyone else how they're going to spend the money. That's just one point I have to make, because no one ever asks any other group who has gotten reparations in this country about how they're going to spend their money. They only treat us like children, asking us how we're going to spend the money, and they hadn't even put the money on the table yet. But I do think money should be included in a package for reparations. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Because if you're going to establish ownership and control of industries in this country, you have to start from somewhere. And since this is a capitalistic world, why not have money on the table? As far as how much, that's still to be debated. But those are the ideas that we discussed, and some ideas I've been thinking of as well, introducing with the money, introducing people into tech and building. I think this kind of goes into BAIO as well, building exchange and trade with Africa, regardless of which country you want to go with, because you can't go to Africa from a position of weakness. You need to go to Africa or anywhere else from a position of power. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I'm actually a member of BAIO, and it's about land infrastructure. Definitely something that we're pushing. Let me just say this. I'm going to give my quick summary, and I agree with everything that you've been saying, Sister Nicole. And I'm glad that you came on board. I'm sorry if sometimes when I send that out, I'm thinking it's going to go to your email. I don't realize it's going straight to your phone. So if I had woke you up anything, I just wanted to get you in on this discussion because I know that you would bring a logical gravity to it. Let me just say this. my plan for reparations would be a twofold plan. One for our future, just what you said. I think it has to be institutionalized to a certain level. One, free education for all children that come from us. All of our children, free education, no taxes whatsoever, no income tax, no nothing. No redlining, because of many Black people were redlined. So when it comes to buying a home, starting a business, we have no interest rates whatsoever. There will be no interest rates on us. There's no red tape for us to be able to buy and purchase a home or get into or go into a business if we got our own paperwork together. You know what I mean? If you got your paperwork together, you know, you're business savvy, you don't have all this red tape being thrown down on you. So our kids, if our kids are in school and they're doing well in school, they go to any college that they want free of charge. Land grants. That's how a lot of historical Black colleges, some of them, were able to be built in this country through land grants. So I think land is important because we got to have infrastructure. Then we gotta. This is one important component that we cannot forget: healthcare. Every Black woman and man and child should have free healthcare because we are suffering in health, sister. Things are happening to us, whether it be poor diet or they're messing around with us. Health, free healthcare, lifetime. For example. And like I said, low interest rate. Oh, those of us who have debts, student loans, credit card debt, it all dissipates. It all goes away. If you don't have it, when you get paid your check from work, you get gross. Imagine how much more money you'll be able to bring home and you can invest. When you talk about people saying what we're going to spend our money on, I normally hear a lot of that from Negroes. Black people are the main ones that I hear saying this as the excuse why we can't do it. It's always Black folks. It's always somebody saying why we can't this and we can't that. Yet if our ancestors had to listen to that, all of us would still be in shackled slavery right now. So that's the way I would see it. And then on the other hand, those who have family members like myself who had land farms. So if you got a grandfather who's alive, who grew up in the Jim Crow era, during that civil rights movement, who's still alive, a great grandfather or someone who has a connection to that era, they are the ones, if anyone, should get a fat check. So if I got a great uncle and he lived through that era, he gets a fat check on top of all the other benefits, because they're always going to say, well, how do you identify these people? You know, well, we got family members. A lot of us migrated from the South. So there's many things that could take place if we could unify.
Real quickly.
Go ahead, Art.
If anybody invested in the Final Call newspaper, there's always a brother somewhere you can get a Final Call newspaper. On the back of the Final Call newspaper, once you open it from the back, there's a part that says what Muslims want. And I believe they called it back in the day the 10-point program. If you read that, that's always been laid out, and it really spells out pretty much what everybody is saying. You
Absolutely.
know, they used to call it, I think in the Message of the Black Man too, it's in there as well. Okay, so I'm done.
Okay, let me just say this last thing here before I lose my train of thought. So, this is something I have to say, and this is no disrespect to anybody's religion or beliefs. I just have to say this. One of the things I think personally that divides us as Black people are these particular areas that we have to somehow deal with and tackle. A lot of times we become tribal in America, just as our ancestors were tribal in the continent. Tribalism could be good in one hand. On the other hand, it can be very dangerous because it's easy to divide people by their different tribes. So what do I mean for us as American descendants of slaves? What I'm saying to us is that a lot of times we're divided by our political ideologies. I'm a Republican, I'm an independent, you're a Democrat. Sometimes we're divided by religion. I'm Muslim, you're Hebrew Israelite, you're a Christian. Those are things that can also divide us if we don't get a handle on it and realize that no matter what your religious is, we got to be able to agree on one accord of what this is, or what is most important to us. So I think that also is something that could hold us back because we're very passionate about our political views and our religious views. So no disrespect to anybody. Let me give a shout out to brother New Beginnings for the super chat and Super Triz for the super chat as well. Let me give you brothers a clap here because I appreciate it. And Super Triz is on the panel with us. I want to thank you all for the super chat. And I gotta say to Super Triz, who I'm gonna bring on. Then we got brother Rob I want to bring on as well. Super Triz, I just want to say, brother, I'm glad you're here. And I want to apologize for last week. I was on O'Shea's Rumble. I had been scheduled to be on there, and I wanted to get onto your channel for your chat. And you were I think your chat was over. But I want to apologize to you, brother, because you did invite me to come on over. So I just have to say that to you out of all due respect to you. So Super Triz, thank you for being here. Let me see. I think brother Rob, who popped in first? I want to be equal. Let me see. Brother Rob, you got anything? Brother Super Triz, you got anything you want to say, brother?
I think brother Rob was in here before I was.
Okay,
so
I just want to be fair. Oh, I like them special effects, man. I got some stuff coming down the line too. I love them special effects. Brother Rob, go ahead and speak your piece, and then I'm going to come back over to Super Triz and work this round back to our main guest of honor. Go right ahead, brother Rob.
Man, peace, good brother Info. Man, I appreciate you inviting me on to the panel. Peace to everybody that's on the panel tonight and in the chat.
Peace,
I feel like
peace, brother Rob.
Man, peace to all y'all good brothers and the Queen Nicole Ali. ADOS. I feel like it should be a rallying cry, you know, so that we can put some of these divisions that we have built in the community down. You know, if that make any sense. You know, it don't matter if you're a Christian or a Muslim or a 7-day Adventist or whatever it is that you are, you still American descendant of slavery. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that this distinction kind of, you know, is our unity pole in a way, the way everybody can kind of rally behind it, right? And we can be unified. That's what I'm hoping that it can do. But to be quite honest with you, we need to start our own reparations without asking our oppressor for anything. And how we can do that, right? It's two things that I feel like we need to be prejudiced with. We need to be prejudiced with our money and prejudiced with our love. If we can be prejudiced with those two things right there, what we gonna literally do is create a way for us to be able to take care of one another economically and financially, right? And then secondly, we will strengthen our families once again. If you know, I'm a student of history. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a historian. I'm a student of history, and fresh out of slavery at the end of the Civil War, the number one thing that our ancestors wanted to do was put their families back together. They didn't have a pot to piss in. They ain't had 2 nickels to rub together. But the little money that they did have, they gave it to the newspapers to put an ad in the paper. Hey, we having a family reunion in Tupelo, Mississippi on August the 13th, you know, 1867. Everybody be there. We having one on 1871. Everybody be there. That is what they did. And so the other thing that we can do, and I'm talking about right now, make education the number one thing for our kids. Let's stop talking about anything else. Entertainment, you know, going to the NBA, the NFL. If they got athletic prowess, by all means, go to the NBA so you can get that money, right? But that can't be our number one option on how we get over. You know what I'm saying? With sports and entertainment, we got to stop with the only option, you know, theory. You know, I got plenty to say on the subject, but those 3 things right there. You know, number 1, be prejudiced. Number 2, 1 and 2, be prejudiced with our money, prejudiced with our love, and then instill in our children a love of learning. If this generation just do that, they can point back in history. Hey, in 2019, you know, our ancestors put a plan together, a curriculum together, and it changed the course of history. You know what I'm saying? But we got to start building now. And we can't be waiting. It's a little saying I got, you know what I'm saying? Waiting gets you more waiting. Life don't reward waiting. It don't reward imagination. It don't reward thoughts. It don't reward intentions. Life rewards action. That's what life reward. And if we're not taking the proper steps, you know, to get our kids thinking properly, it'll be just like reparations. It'll be just like if a crackhead hit the lottery, right? The next day, you know what's going to happen. They're going to OD. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't have the proper character and thinking and habits in order to take advantage of what's being offered. You know, so you know, I got a whole lot to say, but those are my 3 core things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay,
So
brother.
I'm gonna fall back on that.
Okay, let me go ahead and go over to Super Trez, but I want to let everybody know that's on the panel that I definitely want to swing it back over to brother. We got Art, we got brother B Miles 84 of the Conscious Channel. I want to swing it back over to the other sister that's on the panel, and we got to get my man Prophet of Thought back in here and swing it back to the main guest of honor, which is Malcolm Fletch TV. And everybody, go make sure you go and support his channel. I'm going to put his links in the chat room. I also have the link in the description of the video as well. So thank you. So go ahead, brother Super Trez. Sorry about that earlier, but go right ahead, brother.
Oh, it's no problem. Thank you, Information Man, and respect to everybody on the panel. Respect to everybody in the live chat. So what I'm gathering is that this conversation is essentially about ADOS, reparations, and whether or not we're ready as a collective for reparations. And the overall concept that I have is that no group as a collective is ready for anything. There are individuals who are ready, and then there's individuals who are not, and that's just something to be expected. And I think that whether or not we're ready as a collective is irrelevant. What matters is that we're owed something, and regardless of whether or not we're ready for it, we should get what's owed to us, period. And I think that when we look at, you know, some of the projections as far as how Blacks would allocate resources they received or take advantage of opportunities that they would be given, that will be granted by reparations, one of the biggest roadblocks, I believe, is just very simple: it's culture. And when we look at other groups, and we often compare ourselves to other groups, and you know, what will other groups do and what will we do in comparison to what other groups would do. The main differentiation is culture, because you know, when we look at these other groups and the culture that they display in whatever iteration that it happens to be in, you know, it's something that's developed over time. It's not something that happens overnight. And when we look at African Americans here in the United States, or what we consider the diaspora, our culture is relatively new. We've had various roadblocks that interfere with the cultivation of our own culture. And we're just really starting to develop a culture since the abolishment of Jim Crow, because the culture has to constantly change to adjust to the changing times. So where we were within the spectral continuum is still the same, but the actual disposition of other groups towards us and our ability to maneuver within the landscape has changed dramatically after Jim Crow. So we can honestly say that our culture has been developing since Jim Crow in its current iteration. So when we look at that on a grand scheme of things, that's a very, very short period of time. And despite that short period of time, I will have to say that we as a collective have done quite well for ourselves despite the odds. Because when we look at other groups, their collectives, their culture has been developing over time. And so when we talk about culture, we got to ask ourselves, what is culture? And when we look at culture, it's precipitated by a calculative system of common customs derived from permutations and a subsequent process of both differentiation, exclusion, and integration of various outcomes through a process of trial and error. And this process of trial and error yields the most beneficial trajectory for the group as a whole. And the key takeaway from that is just that, trial and error. And so the longer you have to conduct an experiment, culture being the experiment, the more permutations that you can actually perform, the more experiences that you're able to learn from through trial and error, the more well-defined, the more streamlined your culture is going to be. So obviously, when we look at other groups, their allocation of resources probably will be better. Well, they've had a longer time for their culture to develop. But because their culture is more refined than ours, does that exclude us from getting what is owed to us? No, it doesn't. Now, there's going to be people that's going to make mistakes, people that's going to stumble. But if reparations were executed in an efficient manner, such as, Information Man, alluded to some things. Now, there are some conflicts, I believe, because I think some things are not sustainable, such as not having income tax for the group into perpetuity. Now, I don't believe that's sustainable because there's certain social services that depend on revenue generated from income tax. So what I think a more logical solution would be, property taxes. I think Blacks should be excluded from property taxes. And when we look at areas of gentrification, one of the primary roadblocks or one of the primary precursors to gentrification is property taxes. Because people who inherit property, if they can't sustain the actual cost incurred through property taxes, then they'll lose that property that somebody else has worked so hard to pay for. So basically, something's being taken from them that is rightfully theirs. So I think property taxes, the abolishment of property taxes for people of the diaspora here in the United States, particularly African descendants of slaves, would be a logical execution of reparations, as well as Brother Rob alluded to, education. Very important. I think that African Americans here in the United States should not have to pay for education as far as the actual tuition costs. Now, lab costs and books and things like that obviously would have to be paid for out of pocket. But as far as the actual tuition itself is concerned, no, we shouldn't have to pay for tuition. So I think that, again, just in closing, I think that reparations is a very real possibility. But I think the key component to actually getting the reparations, getting what's owed to us, is to continue to have these conversations. We must have these conversations on a weekly basis and be unrelenting. And then as we have these conversations, what is going to be the political action behind them? Those are some of the discussions that we need to have. How can we actually get this into the forefront and make those who make decisions for us understand that this is non-negotiable? And we have to have some sort of leverage in order to compel those who make decisions on our behalf to include reparations and African descendants of slaves in the conversation.
Okay, now you didn't took us into the next man, that's wow. Let me give the sister that's on before I bring it back over to B Miles as well. Brother B Miles is okay. B Miles is not here. He had to go. Sister, what are your thoughts about what you've heard so far?
Everything's pretty good. I just would add to the fact that a collapsed society cannot support another society. It's just not possible. And I know we have a lot of things that we could add to the table of what should be done. But we're coming from a slave system where horrific things took place, and there's probably absolutely no way to repay the damage, but we probably can begin to repair and recover. But either way, a collapsed society can't support another collapsed society, because if we were to try and band together all the issues and all the wrongs, I don't think that our country would be able to support our claims. So, I mean, I agree with all of the type of things that we could add, but I think I hear a lot of people use the word give, and rightfully you probably should give. But I would say I think we mostly want our country to include us. We're so used to being excluded, therefore we exclude one another. And our biggest part is we need our country to include us and give us the opportunities when cities and stuff are just basically ghost cities or ghost towns. Give us the opportunities or make it possible where we ourselves can go back and rebuild our old stomping grounds or our own cities. You know, don't just make it possible for other people to come in and dominate us. You're asking for help, which is rightfully, and I don't know what would be giving to us at this point, because you know, at some point we can't come with the same complaints for the next generation. So, you know, that's pretty much what I would just add to the conversation for tonight.
Okay, let me thank you, sister, for your statements. And can you remind everybody your name, the name you like to go by?
Marie.
Okay, I just want to make sure I give you the proper respect, Sister Marie. So that's Sister Marie that you've been hearing. Very dynamic sister. Let me read this from Africa Defender. African Defender says Jim Crow was a mental attack in the media reality. It is those times Black people were progressing, and those who were aware of Jim Crow fought against it. So that's a statement from Brother African Defender. Peace to him. He's a moderator in the chat room. Let me go over right now to the to Prophet of Thought before I swing it back over to Art and get back to our main guest of honor. Prophet of Thought, you've heard some of the statements that were said. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I come from a different angle on this than most people. I mean, like I said before, I've had these discussions, you know, with many people, many YouTubers, and see me, I kind of feel like, you know, certain people deserve a certain amount of reparations. I do believe that, but I don't necessarily feel that reparations are owed to me per se. Maybe they're owed to my great grandfather, but I don't think they're owed to me. I don't want the government to give me anything. The only thing I want the government to do is get the hell out of my way. That's it. I want them to leave me alone. I want them to not profile me when I ride down the street in my damn truck trying to conduct my business. I want to be able to move freely and not have to worry about being ostracized or marginalized just because of the color of my skin. That's what I want. That would be fine for me as a reparation. Now, if they give other people reparations, we have to ask ourselves, will it strengthen us, many of us, or will it weaken some of us? Because make no mistake, if the government is giving Negroes money, the government is going to be able to say that they did this for Black people. They did that for Black people. They gave Black people this. They gave Black people that. And I don't necessarily want to be in that category where the government can say they gave me X, Y, and Z. Now, that's me personally. Okay, that's me personally. Now, I don't know about other brothers or sisters or what they see as reparations, but my reparation would be for the government to just leave me the hell alone. That's it. If you want to do me you want to do me a favor, you want to give me reparations, lower my damn taxes on my house. Lower the taxes on my goddamn businesses. That's all I need. You don't even have to do that. If you go ahead and say, well, X, we're just going to leave you alone. We're going to let you operate. We ain't going to let you be profiled. You will have sovereignty in certain jurisdictions. That's what I want. They can keep their damn money. They can take my portion and give it to someone else.
Okay. Brother X, I agree with what you said. This is where I differ in one statement that you said. You said that the money is owed to your grandfather or your family members that were alive. That would be money that they owe you. This is where I differ with you. The reason why the government would owe you that money, because the money that they would have given to your grandfather would have been possibly passed down to you, such as generational wealth. So, for example, if I have a grandfather who was ripped off of his land for whatever reason, there's a possibility that could have been an inheritance to me. That would be my birthright. So therefore, any money that this government owes our ancestor, our grandfather, our grandmother is owed to us. Just like when someone passes in your family and you're on the deed to get that house. It is your birthright to get that which was supposed to be yours, especially when this government has ripped off a lot of black men and women of property, of wealth that would have been handed down to your generation, my generation, and that would have given you extra money to continue handing down to your children, just as your children are going to benefit from the things that you left them. Imagine if the government had come in right now, and they are doing this, and they would take all your wealth that you have away from you, Brother Prophet, and your children, your daughter, your son, whoever, they would not be able to reap the benefits of your hard work because you were ripped off by this government. That's the only difference I have in what you had just said, brother. Other than that, you're making sound points. Now, Brother Art, go ahead.
They can take my portion and give it to the brothers. Divide it up and give it to the brothers. I don't want them to give me nothing. I don't want them to give me anything. All I want is my freedom.
You want freedom, justice, equality, and you want to be left alone. And you want land. You want land too, right, brother?
Well, if it got to come from them, no. You can take that and give it to the brothers too.
Okay, and I understand that if it comes from them, then it comes with certain conditions, and those conditions will maintain you in slavery, almost like sharecropping, right? The same kind of principle. I get you, brother. Believe me.
Brother Info, let me just ask you this right quick.
Okay.
Do you actually think, can anyone actually believe that the government is going to write you a check? The government is going to give you a plot of land. The government is going to give you a house, and there's not going to be any conditions tied to it whatsoever. Really?
I believe anything that they give us historically has always been tied with conditions. It doesn't change the fact that they still owe us something. And that's where I'm still stuck, because even though it's going to be conditions on it, it's still what is due to us. Let me do this. Brother Art, I want you to say some words, brother, and then I got to swing it back over to our guest of honor and let that brother speak on whatever is on his mind right now, because he's been very patient listening to all of the statements that we've said. Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, so just as I was saying before, the what Muslims want is pretty much a universal message for all black people, and that's been put in place for years. The other thing I recommend is Powernomics by Dr. Claude Anderson, along with Black Labor, White Wealth, same person. I think you should look into the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concepts by Neely Fuller. I think if you just get those three books along with the stuff from the Final Call newspaper, at least that would prepare you to make sure that if you do get that reparation package, you'd be able to have some kind of staying power, and plus you'd be able to expand and make sure that you'd be able to, pass things down. Because I think sometimes a lot of people have these concerns that, okay, if I get it, then somebody's going to take it, or if I get it, we're going to spend it on weed and alcohol and party and all that. Well, just the same way you have 24-hour fitness for your body, you need 24-hour fitness for common sense. So you got to start getting that stuff ready, because if not, even if you get that, people have these different concerns or whatever, but the main thing is just be ready when it comes. And I'm done.
Okay, let me bring it back over to Brother Malcolm Fletch TV. Make sure you all support his channel. I'll put his channel links back in the chat room again, and it's also in the description of this video. Let's go over to our guest of honor, brother. You've had a chance to absorb, listen to everything that everyone has spoken upon on this panel tonight.
Yes,
go right ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. Be honest with you, I do. I would like the response, but I gotta admit, I enjoyed everything that I heard, and I just, man, I still want to listen to some more because, I mean, brothers and sisters are making a lot of great points. You know what I mean? Brother Rob made some good points. Brother Super Trez, he made some fantastic points, especially about the point about permutations. I believe I also heard Brother Polite make the same arguments as well. And I believe that, yes, we should keep reparations on the table. I do believe that money should be in the package as well as doing for self. I don't think necessarily we should just have one exclusive way to do things, but I'm only speaking from a perspective from a way that I know that works for sure because it worked for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And as Brother Art is mentioning the Final Call newspaper, if you have never read the Final Call newspaper, family.
Let me share your screen. Oh, there we go. Let me make sure everybody can see that.
Right. This is the Final Call newspaper right here. So when you turn to the very back page, to the Muslim program, to what the Muslims want and what the Muslims believe, this is the Muslim program. This is what Black people need. We need an agenda to put forth. See, now the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had an agenda, and although he had an agenda, he himself even said that he didn't believe that white people, the enemy, will concede to his demand. But this is what he's asking. And this is the demand that he put on the white man is point number 4, and what the Muslims want. And he had an alternative for the demand that he put on America. So first, let me read one of the demands, because he put a demand on the American government, and he also put a demand on Black people. So I'm going to go to the demand on Black people once I read the demand to white people. The first, the demand, point number 4, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad stated in the Muslim program, what the Muslims want. He stated, we want our people in America whose parents or grandparents were descendants from slaves to be allowed to establish a separate state or territory of their own, either on this continent or elsewhere, because they did it for Israel, right? We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to provide such land and that the area must be fertile and minerally rich. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to maintain and supply our needs in this separate territory for the next 20 to 25 years until we are able to produce and supply our own needs, meaning that we would divorce from this enemy. And it says, since we cannot get along with them in peace and equality, after giving them 400 years of our sweat and blood and receiving in return some of the worst treatment human beings have ever experienced, we believe our contributions to this land and the suffering forced upon us by white America justifies our demand for complete separation in the state or territory of our own. Okay? But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad himself said he believed that the enemy will not give us this demand, okay? Concede to this demand. So what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad tell us? What did he tell Black people? He said instead of waiting for somebody to do for us, that we can do this ourselves. So if they don't want to give us whatever we asking for, then we just do it ourselves. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad proved, not through experimentation, not through permutations, he proved through a program that he created himself and created an $80 million empire back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, just off of doing for self, just off that program alone, just doing for self. You know what I'm saying? Creating businesses, you know what I'm saying, and spending with one another, and also building relationships with our original family all over the world through trade and commerce. You know what I mean? So the enemy continuously tried to do whatever he can do to shut down what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was trying to do. He wasn't trying to sell the messenger no land, but the messenger still was able to buy land. He was able to buy a printing press. You know, he was able to buy buildings to open up businesses. He was able to buy apartment complexes and houses to house our own people. You know, we were able to buy land. So yes, I agree. I think it's okay to experiment with this. I think it's okay to try to go ahead and get reparations. Why? Because we do deserve it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said earlier, anybody can make a case. Some of the less educated of us can make a case on reparations on why we deserve it. But the question is, will this enemy give it to us, you know what I'm saying, in the long run? And there's a scripture in the book of Matthew in the Bible. Jesus, he was a prophet of parables, and he stated, as the lightning shineth from the east, and even unto the west, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. And wheresoever the carcass is, the eagles are gathered together. So he was giving us a prophecy in the form of a parable to say that in the western location, okay, in the western location, there will be a body of people that will be symbolically or metaphorically dead. But we are not dead physically, we are dead mentally. Okay, and around this dead carcass or this dead body of people, dead mentally people, there are people who are symbolically called eagles that are feeding off of the flesh or the lifeblood, or the lifeblood meaning the money, taking the money out of the black community. There are people that are leeches and termites, and they are sucking the lifeblood out of the black community, and they give nothing back to the black community. So at this point, dear family, that we can't necessarily blame the mayonnaise man for all of our problems. At some point, we have to take self-accountability. At some point, we have to be responsible for the moves that we make and quit allowing other people to come in our community and suck off the breast of the black community. Because just in LA, when you travel through LA and you go, there's a Chinatown, there's a little Cambodia, there's a little Armenia, there's a little Filipino town. You know what I'm saying? But when are we going to have a little Africa? When we going to have a little Jamaica? When we going to have a nation town? You know what I mean? You can go to Chicago. They got a little Italy, you know, and we have been here longer than anybody. We have fought in all the wars, all of America's wars. You know, the first man to die in the war was the Revolutionary War. His name was Crispus Attucks, and he was a black man.
And he fought, yeah, and he fought on the wrong side too, brother.
Yeah, but my point is, we have been fighting in all of America's wars. No matter what side the brother was fighting on, we didn't been in everywhere. I got grandfathers that have Purple Hearts and then fought in the Korean War. So we have shed sweat. We have shed blood.
Yes.
For this soil. So my point is this. So we need to build a community like a Black Wall Street, again, Tulsa, Oklahoma, because we did it before and we can do it again. We don't have to. I think it's okay to fight both battles, but at the end of the day, we have to go with what works and what's been proven. There hasn't been any Black leaders, and I don't say this to judge anybody. I'm not saying it to single anybody out or down anybody, but outside of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, there hasn't been any Black leader that excelled in economics that can equal what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has done. Not even the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and he will admit that himself. You know, so I just think that we shouldn't reinvent the wheel. We should stick with what works.
Tell the truth.
Okay, so let me get this. Let me say this to you, brother. So at some point, and I'm hearing Brother Prophet of Thought say this too, at some point in time, we can't put all our eggs in one basket with just expecting that the mayonnaise man is going to give us money, that he's going to do right by us by giving us institutionalized, all these things that we're dependent on it coming from the mayonnaise man. Although we still make a demand for that which is due, which should be due us, that we deserve, doesn't mean we're going to get it. However, while we're fighting on that side of the island, we should still prepare ourselves to do for self, because there's no guarantee that they're going to do right by us. And we know through history that they have lied to us. Even when it came to the Native Americans, they have gone back on treaties.
Right.
Let me remind everybody of this, because my ancestors were freemen. People, when we talk about the Trail of Tears, how they moved Native people off the fertile soil to the southwestern part of the country, let's not forget that some of those Native people that were moved across the country were also Black Native people. They were freemen who were also moved and died. There were Black folks that died in that situation. So we often, when we talk about Native Americans, we often think of them as separate, not recognizing sometimes that there were the freemen or Black people that were Cherokee who did not put us in slavery, because some Native tribes did have their history in our slavery too. So, you know, when you think about it, Black people, I mean, we can hold so many people accountable for the bullshit that happened to us, you know, because they were running around as bounty hunters, trying to hunt us and things of that nature. But the point, I get what you're saying, brother, that no matter what happens, it still should not change the fact that we have to do for self.
Right.
Self-reliant.
And just to kind of give context in a more modern way.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine you being a little boy and you had a big old bully came and took your lunch money. Okay, just came and took it from you. Okay, and you know he's bigger than you, he's badder than you. You know, he might have a few homies to back him up. Okay, and you can't go to this dude and say, and knowing you're smaller than him, and say, hey man, I want my lunch money back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the times, you know, I mean, a smart individual knows that eventually I'm gonna get bigger, I'm gonna grow up, and then I'm gonna come back to this dude and I'm gonna take what belongs to me, what he took from me. You know, so in this state that we can't be this little guy and then we're gonna go back to the man and ask him. No, we're gonna grow ourselves up and become strong. You know what I'm saying? We need strength, you know, because we can't be weak need. And here's my thing about ADOS. Okay. Now, if we're going to make a demand on the government to give us a reparation, we're going to need a political machine that's going to back this movement, okay, with a leader that we choose to put in power. Okay, just as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan stated during one of the Savior's Days, that we need to create our own political party and we need to elect those that we choose that are solid to represent us as a people. You know what I mean? We had just one man representing us, one voice speaking, because we need to show everybody that we are on one accord. So we need a political machine to back this movement if we want it to be successful. We just can't be a social media campaign. It can start off that way, okay, but it can't continue. It can't just be a Black Lives Matter type situation. It's got to be the real deal. You know what I'm saying? We need some strong brothers with some backbone, some brothers with testicular fortitude that's not going to take compromises, okay, and be more interested in putting money into their own pockets, okay, and is looking out for the whole. That's what we need as a people. We don't need people that's constantly just looking out for self-interest, because one man can't rise above the condition of his own people. because you're not doing really pretty good. You're not doing good if you balling and the rest of your people are suffering.
Okay. Let me you are 100% right, brother. 100%. Let me go over to brother Rob. Now, Rob said something that was very interesting. He talked about our children, our kids. I often speak about that because this brother, like Art, works with kids. He teaches, he mentors, he does the damn thing. He's got his foot on the ground out there. Brother Rob, this is my theory, brother Rob, to you. I personally believe that there may be some of us, and we have to be honest. We said this earlier. Some of us are not getting these reparations. Some of our people are going to be on the outside looking in if we ever were to get them. Two, I don't think that we can save everybody in our community, but we can damn sure shape the minds and save the young, because some grown ass folks in their 40s and 50s and 60s, you just ain't going to change them. You can give them information. You can try to engage with them, but some folks ain't going to change. But our youth, their brains are like sponges. They soak in information. They can soak in the incorrect information too. But they're the ones I think are the most important key to changing the narrative for Black people going forward. If we can change their ideology and get us away from repeating this this division that we sometimes appear to have with each other as a people. What are your thoughts?
Well, good brother Info. I gotta tell you, and this is just my estimation. It's my opinion. We are victims of propaganda.
Okay.
And we literally see reality, police, justice, things of this nature through white folks' eyes. And because we can't look at it from a Black first point of view collectively, the people who argue for reparations and unity, like us, we sound like Charlie Brown mom to those people that you're talking about.
Okay.
You know, and at the end of the day, that's why I'm stressing education. I agree with the minister. This is the most probably revolutionary generation Africans in this part of the Western Hemisphere, the world has ever seen. I'm telling you, they literally are. When we say hard-headed, I mean literally. So what if we could control the narrative that they going along with? See, that's where our power lies. If we can get them to go along with we not taking no shorts, Black folks gonna spend money with each other and love each other, and that's all it gonna be. All you old motherfuckers who, my fault, all you old heads who don't want to go along with it. Well, y'all just go ahead and go in a hole somewhere, because this is what we on. If we can control that narrative, that they going along with, man, that's where our power lie. You know what I'm saying? It lie in our young people. We gotta control the narrative. How are we gonna do that? Man, we got 12 years. We got 12 years to indoctrinate them. Now, I don't know about the state that you in California, but in Illinois, it is a state requirement to do 40 hours of community service. I'm gonna shut up after this. And this is how I use indoctrination, right? I got a little spreadsheet on how much the skilled trades get paid per hour. I show that to my young men, and then what you think that do? That motivate them to want to go and get into a skilled trade because they can see the bottom line. You see? We gotta give our young people more than a good word. That worked for us. That's not gonna work for them. You got to show them the bottom line. And once you do that, and you do it over and over again, and then now you got case studies. Now you got examples of people that's winning. You know what I'm saying? Look at your mans. He done bought a house. He done bought a car. He done paid off his mama bills. Look at him. Man, the cat winning.
Right.
You want to winning? That's what you do. You know what I'm saying? So that is the way that I'm approaching it. I'm approaching it on a micro level. you know. But I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can look at the numbers. Even Arnie Duncan, who used to be Secretary of Education while Barack Obama was president of the United States, you know, he wrote an op-ed talking about the work that we did to prop up the dropout crisis. You know, so the proof is in the pudding. But I mean, I think practical, and you know, if I feel like if our people can get our movement started now, you know, where we spending money with each other, we loving one another, things of this nature, we respecting our ancestors again, our elders, you know, we doing that. If this reparations money do come, then think what we gonna do, be able to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we got to get our mind together. My main man's DS1, he said all the time, we gotta heal before we build. You know what I'm saying? It's a shaky foundation that we building on right now with this discussion. That's why our talking heads that are on the main media platforms, that's why they can't plug in, because we don't have the apparatus, the functionality to get our word out. We got the medium, we using it now. But the reason why we can't reach them is because of my original point. Some of us see reality through white folks' eyes. So we just got to get back into our African mind, you know what I'm saying? Be able to move as a unit. And once we able to do that, you know, the reparations discussion will end up, it won't be a discussion, it'll be an action plan. You know, so I'll fall back on that.
And just to add real quick, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan said to black leaders, he said, what's the use of having a black head not connected to a black body?
Hello? Okay, brother. Let me go over to Brother Super Trez. Brother Super Trez, I think, did somebody's sound cut out? All of a sudden, I heard Malcolm Fletch TV speak, and it got super quiet all of a sudden. Interesting. Brother Super Trez, you want to touch on anything that you've heard, brother?
Yes. Yeah, I do agree with a lot of the points that everyone on the panel has said thus far. Again, I go back to culture. You know, we have a culture or what resembles a culture, but there's a lot of refinement that needs to occur before we consistently make good decisions, because I think people are under an impression that most people make good decisions independently without the assistance of culture. But, you know, I beg to differ. I think that especially some of the other groups that we see who appear to make good decisions, I think that their decisions are based on their application of culture, and they have a culture to reference back to. And so I think that a large majority of any population from any group can't rely on intrinsic compulsions to make good decisions, because the intrinsic compulsions will be decisions that are made on their behalf and their behalf only, oftentimes at the detriment of their greater group. And I think that that's one of the biggest obstacles, is that, you know, certain people, you know, have excelled personally, and the actual progress that they made benefits only them and their specific nuclear family. But that actual benefit doesn't resonate with the entirety of the collective. And I think that we have to start thinking along those lines as a group. But the only way we'll start thinking along those lines is if we see benefit. And I think that most Black people don't necessarily see benefit from exclusively associating themselves with the Black collective. And they don't see benefit with aligning themselves with, you know, specific movements, because they don't see the actual fruition down the line. They really don't see it, because it's a short-sighted perspective that we've adopted. And while other groups have their ancestors, their predecessors have created the reality that we live in today. When we look at what we experience is because it's based on decisions that the ancestors from other groups made 500, 1,000 years ago, and we're living in that reality. So we have to start looking at things from a long-term perspective and say, what is the viability of our current trajectory? How logical is it to continue on this linear path that we're on right now? And what will the implications be for our lineage in the future? And the outlook is actually bleak, because the world that we're in is constantly changing. The last stream that I did, Information Man, that I had invited you to, was the Age of Aquarius 2 Judgment Day. And basically what I spoke of is that, you know, we're coming into a technologically advanced era where some of the things that we emphasized really are not viable for the foreseeable future. Some of the actual industries that we enter in now won't be an option for our children in the future, because there'll be automation and there'll be gene editing that will basically eliminate the relevancy of the human component to the workforce for some fields. So we have to start looking at things now, especially when we look at reparations being on the table. This is our opportunity to solidify a future for our lineage, so that way they're able to operate independently of certain apparatuses that will exclude them from participation, that being automation and gene editing. So I think it's very important that we start looking at things from a long-term perspective, and that will influence our decisions. I know Prophet of Thought, doesn't want any part of reparations, but I'm of the mentality, consequences be damned. In certain instances, I don't care what people think of me if I received reparations from the government or quote unquote the white man. I'm looking at it as, how would I be able to allocate those resources for the benefit, of my lineage and the collective as a whole? And so I look at that as a greater consequence, is the actual application of it, as opposed to the optics. And I'll pass it after that.
Well, I just think, I'm kind of on the fence with the whole reparations idea. I think it's a complicated process. Like I said before, no one knows who's going to get it, how much it's going to be, what form it's going to come in. My thing is, I think that the only people who should receive, said reparations is people who need it. I don't think all of us should be getting it. I mean, some of us, we don't need reparations. Some of us, we don't need whatever check or whatever they're going to give, to people. Like I said, if they were to give me reparations, I would give that shit to the brothers. I would divide it up and give it to brothers. I would take it and invest it in something, for the brothers. That's what I would do with it. I mean, I wouldn't want to keep it. I wouldn't want to use it, because everything I have bled and sweat for. Okay. That's why I control it all. I control my house. I control my cars. I control my business. I control my family. I control my life, because I built it on my own. So I don't necessarily need the government to give me anything. I don't need them to give me a damn thing. What I need them to give me is freedom. Okay. I need freedom from this racist, bigoted, discriminatory system. That's what I need. If they give me that, that's all I would ask for. Whatever monetary thing they give, any property, whatever they give, I would give it to the brothers. I wouldn't keep it, because I don't think I need it. Therefore, I don't think I deserve it. There's plenty of people out there who could use a house. There's plenty of people out there who could use some land. There's plenty of people out there who can use education, medical benefits, all kinds of stuff, So Give it to those people. Give it to the people who really need it. Most of the brothers on this panel don't need a reparations check. Most of the brothers on this panel have their own money, their own job, their own house, their own car, their own all of that money in the bank. I would beg to say all of us on this panel do. So why would we take something like that we don't really need when people that are in need of it could probably benefit from it more? That's my main thing with it. Who would receive it? Would everybody get it, or people who need it and or deserve it get it? That's my main issue with it, distinguishing who gets it and who doesn't.
Well, I just want to respond to that real quickly.
Go ahead, brother.
When we talk about who needs it, yeah, obviously there's people like myself on the panel who don't necessarily need reparation. Who deserves it? Everybody deserves it. Who wants it? Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I know I want it. And the reason why I want it is simply because of principle. It's what's owed to me. I don't care about anything else because I'm a principled individual in certain things. If I feel like I'm owed something, if somebody steals from me, right? I don't care if it's, I still got somebody in my head that I loaned $300 to that never paid me back in Texas. And if I see that person, there's going to be a conversation that's going to be had. And that first conversation going to be had is, where's my money at? And that was a long time ago. And yeah, it was only $300, but it's the damn principle. It's what's owed to me. I want what's mine. And by proxy of what was owed to my ancestors, reparations are owed to me. And that's the reason why I want it. And that's the reason why I feel I deserve it. And a lot of people who actually need it, the people who don't need it, I believe oftentimes, maybe I don't want to make any assumptions, but just because somebody doesn't need it doesn't mean they wouldn't put good use to it. And just because somebody needs it doesn't mean they would put good use to it. I'll just put it like that. And I won't say what people will do, what they will, or what they won't do with their money, but the possibilities are open. But all that doesn't matter. It matters is what's owed to us, and in particular, what's owed to me. I can't speak for everybody else. I can't speak for Prophet of Thought. And if he doesn't feel like, he needs it, that's perfectly fine. But I feel that I should get it just because it's what's owed to me. And then if I don't really need it, then guess what? That's something that I can pass on to my children since I don't need it.
Yeah, I would say, brother X, you make some good points, but I feel that if I was to get that money and I felt that I didn't need the money, then I would do what Super Triz is saying. I would donate the money to a program that benefits Black people who may not be in the best economic situation. I may put it into a program to get kids into school, create a scholarship program, whatever it may be, which is the reason why I was pushing earlier in the program that I see it. What's more viable to me is the institutionalized reparations, where our kids can get the opportunity to go to school, because two things that Black people need, and I think we all can agree with this: we need education and we need land. If you have education and you have proper training to be independent, and you have land infrastructure, those are the two things that create generational wealth. And that's what's been missing in our community overall. Okay. And this is the reason why when you look at W.E. Du Bois and you look at Booker T. Washington, I have to be honest, I think Booker T. Washington had the right formula for our success. But a lot of us went with W.E. Du Bois, who was talking about, mainly about education, which is important, and talented tenant and all of that. But Booker T. Washington was saying, but you got to own something. You got to have your own. I think the two together as a marriage is beautiful. And even W.E. Du Bois, if my readings are correct, on his deathbed, he admitted that he made the wrong decision, that he should have incorporated more of the Booker T. Washington philosophy at some point in time, as he was trying to, encourage Black people at that time. So I said my little piece right here. So let me go over.
I have a question.
Go ahead. And brother, this is what we're gonna do. Brother Malcolm, brother Fletcher TV, go ahead and speak. And then we got brother Cap PY2 that's on. I want to get to him. And also we got Art that's been very quiet in the back too. So go right ahead, brother.
Yes, sir. I don't really have a statement. I really have a question.
Okay.
As far as ADOS, because I believe, from my understanding, they are saying that they want those who can prove through their lineage, I guess, can get reparations. So, like, if you can prove that you are a descendant of a slave, that you would be qualified. But my question is, what about those who can't necessarily prove that they are slaves, and how can they get a reparations? Because you hear, you know what I'm saying, you came from somewhere, you know, so what do we do about those people who want reparations but don't know how to necessarily use ancestry.com or whatever to prove through their bloodline that they are this African descendants of slaves?
Well,
that's my question.
I'll give you an example. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I am. My mother did research on our family. And believe it or not, you know who has the #1 database for finding some of your lineage in this country? Believe it or not, it's the Mormons. The Mormons have a hell of a database for digging and finding information. Then we know that a lot of our names, and you know this very well, brother Malcolm, a lot of us have what we would call slave names, right? That connect us to a plantation or connect us to some mayonnaise man down the line. My mother was able to do research by talking to members in the family that were alive. She was able to identify where our family arrived from, North Carolina, on both sides of my father and her side. And with that database and going down there and doing some heavy research, she was able to dig up the proof of my lineage. So I think, I don't think we should underestimate our ability to be able to dig that information. I think that Black people have to be willing. If that's the requirement, then we have to be willing to use all things available to us to find out as much information that grounds us here. You asked a very difficult question, because not everybody's going to be willing to do that research if they don't already have it. But that was the reason why I said, brother, if you've got a family member who lived through Jim Crow, see, it's one way to skin a cat. Okay, maybe I can't find my ancestor who was brought on the ship from the continent, right? But I can definitely identify family members here in America who went through a hell of a lot in Jim Crow and segregation and all those sort of things. So there's a lot of us that can identify the immediate family that's still alive or who might have passed away, but we still got some connection to identify ourselves to this heritage. So so that's why I made that connection about those who went through that era. There's still something due to us. It's the whole package, brother, that how I look at it. So I'll leave it at that for me. Let me see.
Hey, Info, is it all right if I weigh in on the question, good brother?
Go ahead. This is what I want you to do. Weigh in on the question, and then I want to make sure that Art and Brother Cap PY2 is able to get in before we put a crescendo on the program for this evening. Go right ahead, brother Rob.
All right, no doubt. Attorney Moore, he is one of the originators of the distinction ADOS, and his intention was to separate those who might have our skin tone but not our experience in the country. And so that's why the distinction states, American descendants of slavery. So that, in essence, basically we are separating ourselves from those who are maybe of our skin tone, maybe from the motherland, but didn't have the same experience bloodline wise here in this country. And it came up, the source of it came through the DACA discussions that they were having in Congress. And how should Black folks feel about it, right? I agree with Yvette Carnell. One of the few things I agree with her on, that I don't feel any type of way about DACA, to be quite honest with you. You know what I'm saying? Because it doesn't affect the people that I work with every day. You know what I'm saying? The people who have the same experience that I have here in this country. So, you know, that's pretty much what I wanted to say to the question.
Okay, let me just say this before I go over to Cap and Art. Let me just read this off. This is from the ADOS website that kind of explains it and lays it out. I'm just going to read a portion of this. ADOS, which stands for American Descendants of Slavery, seek to reclaim, restore the critical national character of the African American identity experiences, one granted in our group unique lineage, and which is central to our continuing struggle for social and economic justice in the United States. This goes between these years, folks, to put this, everybody listening, to put this all in perspective. It goes between the year 1600 into the 1900s and the 2000s today. And it includes Jim Crow. It includes all the history that we as Black people, our fathers, our mothers, our great aunts, all those folks went through. The struggles that they went through. We know that Black men were hung like fruit on trees coming back from the military because they didn't like seeing us in those uniforms. We know that many Black people were redlined when it came to buying property and so on and so forth. We know that there was a thing called the Green Book. I'm going to do a video on that, where Black people had to drive in certain parts of the country for safety because they could not eat here, sleep there. And there were many of our people who had to get off the side of the road and relieve themselves because they couldn't find a place. So that you had the Green Book situation, okay? You had Rosewood, many communities that were burnt down, Black men who had land taken from them. Now, let me give you a case in point here, everybody. The Black farmers worked hard for years and years to get money for land and for mistreatment that was promised to them. They didn't get the amount of money that I think that they should have gotten, but they got something because they never gave up the fight. It took them years and years and years, and they still didn't get what they should have gotten. So Black farmers put up a hell of a fight. Black people who have, if you have family members who had land, the land was stolen from you. Okay, let's not even talk about the Black inventors who couldn't get a patent. And then you had white men, the mayonnaise men, who came in and stole their inventions. Okay, I think it was Jackson, what's the brother name? Graham Vale Jackson, who is the true inventor of the telephone, not this other guy we call Thomas Edison or whatever this guy we think made the telephone. It was a brother that made the telephone originally. And of course, he got his idea stolen. So when you talk about what this country owes to us, it's not only in slavery. So for those of you out there that are going to say, well, how are you going to prove who? No. It covers the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, right on up to the 2000s today for what they owe us. So I'll rest my case on that. Brother Art or Cap, would you like to jump in and say any words before we come to a conclusion tonight?
Yeah, so brother Info and greetings, Cap. Sure. I was really thinking about the how we're talking about children and things like that. I think people have to understand that children are not really going through the same things that we went through. They have a whole different battle. So sometimes when we're putting forth things that we think that would work for them, that's a different time. This is a whole different time, and I think they have a lot more competition. So, how sometimes we say, well, since you're not able to do this, then do that. I would say, my whole thing is the way we deal with our boys. I would speak with boys in particular. When we deal with our boys, we push them real hard in sports. We make them exercise, prepare, all that kind of stuff. I just don't see why we don't do that enough as far as them trying to become owners of businesses and being on a higher echelon of things, just like any other nationality.
Right.
You got to start pushing pushing our boys, because basically their drive for power. If you might want to study I think it's the war on what is it? Malcolm Flex. What is brother Wesley Muhammad's book? Isn't it Assault on Black Boys?
It's called Understanding the Assault on Black Manhood, Black Masculinity, and no, the Black Man, Black Manhood, Black Masculinity.
Yeah, I mean, I urge people to read that book, because basically we're not pushing our boys to go for power. We're having them to settle down and sit in the corner somewhere. We need to start pushing them to go for the best, because basically, I mean, if you don't do it, they're gonna always second guess their abilities. You know, I mean, obviously, because there's always, when I say something like this, somebody's gonna come behind me and say, "Well, no, he don't have to do all that." No, just stop it. Just make sure that they go ahead and go for the highest of all, and then whatever falls, then let it fall. But at least they went for the best. I think that needs to be a normal practice, more than just sports and other kind of things that we do on a normal basis. Because there's a lot of people out there that's willing to take the food and the money out of their hands when they need to be able to build something for themselves, because it's just not fair. And I will leave it at that. It's your show, Cap.
Cap, how you doing?
Roger that. Roger that.
It's good to have you
how
here.
How you doing, brother? Hey, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I just want to make it real clean and simple.
Mm-hmm.
The time that we're dealing in right now, we have two options. And brother Malcolm X woke me up back in the 90s when his autobiography came out. Said either you go ahead and go by the ballot or you go by the bullet. And so we have we can talk, we can take do all these live streams and talk about it and such, but it only comes to two options. It's either the bullet or the ballot. You know, and so that's why I try and tell people, man, these folks, they're not gonna give us our reparations real easily. They're not. They give it to everybody else, but they won't give it to us. So now that we got this movement going on, they are preparing harder because they don't want to give it up. We got to fight for it. That's what it is. I mean, if we don't come together, this shit, man, what the hell is use? If we don't come together, what's the use fighting for it? And that's what don't make sense to me. I mean, it makes sense, but it don't make sense. And so for us, man, that's why I try to, not to disrespect anybody else. I'm part of the team, the ADOS and the Tangible 2000. I'm on team with all of that, but understand our enemy. They don't want us to have this unless we get ready to put up a political fight or a physical fight. Mm-hmm. So it's on us, family.
Let me just,
so that's what I want to say. I appreciate it.
Oh, and Cap, I love you, Cap. Let me just say this, because I'm going to do a video about this. You see what's happening in the election season. You've got Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, and any other folks they're going to throw at us. And what they're going to try to do is they're going to try to use this whole thing about it's going to trickle down to you, right? We don't want that. We want tangibles. Like my man Tariq says, we want tangibles. We want focus on us. Every group in this country, they force the government to play to what they want. We as a people are the only ones that's being told we're always been given sloppy seconds and thirds. This is why the ADOS, in my estimate, is very important, because it narrows it down specifically to our issues, and you can't wiggle out with that thirds and sloppy seconds and all that other nonsense. Now we got brother Am1. I want to have him say some words, whatever's on the brother's mind, so we can swing it on back to other brothers and back to our guest of honor.
Information man.
No, it's my turn. It's my turn.
AM, my bad. I won't take long. Give me 15 seconds. 15 seconds.
No, go ahead, brother. I'm just playing.
I hear you.
Hey, Cap,
I hear you.
And Cap, I'm going to give you the 15 seconds,
sir.
But you got to tell the truth. Go right ahead, Cap.
Bro, I've been doing all the time. I've been doing live stream, telling the damn truth. I've been doing survival stuff. That's the truth.
You always do.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm saying this 50 seconds. I was gonna say, forgive me, Amber, brother. The option is prepare for the worst. That's the last thing I gotta say.
Oh wow.
Thank you, brothers.
Wow, that's gone, brother. Cap, I love you. Thank you. AM1, brother, come on and give us a little bit as we start to wind down this stream today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sending me the link over there, sir. Yeah, I heard you winding down, and all of a sudden I see the call coming in. I'm like, hey, info man, what's good? No, ADOS, you know, I rock with that. I mean, don't get it twisted. I'm light-skinned as I don't know what, but just as black as everybody else. Definitely with that, man. I like the self-identification, the self-determination, American descendants of slavery, really making that statement, really defining exactly us as a people and it being relative to us coming for what we are owed, riding the ship on what has been done. And I understand a lot of people are getting real fearful and uncomfortable about that, including some of our own people. It's going to require some accountability. It's going to require a whole lot of getting on point. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to happen because the government has no impetus or motivation to truly hand over billions or trillions of dollars. Although they've done it to a whole lot of other groups who haven't even had anything happen on this soil. But I do like the idea that it's appears to be a grassroots movement that is coming from YouTube and some folks that really seem to be more or less like us. And I like that it's counter to mainstream media. So I think it's going to raise some really interesting ideas when it becomes very clear that they're not giving us reparations. If we leverage it right, then we can really say, hey, why not? Why can the Jews get what they got 37 billion over 6 years or something like that? Just to use that one example, why is the U.S. government giving taxpayer money away like that? But they can't give us a bag. Let's talk about that. And if everything goes right like it should make it very clear to our people we all we got, and we need to shit or get off the pot as far as leveling up for real. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm going to say this. I think that someone said in there, I think it was 6 figures days. And let me give a shout out to brother Bob TV. This brother's got a great channel. Make sure you all check him out, Bob TV. I'm going to be interviewing him sometime down the line. And brother, if you want to come on the panel for the time that we got left, brother, send your email so I can get you on the panel. But he does political commentary on his show. He's been talking about this upcoming election. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is this. The Democrats are in for a rude awakening because I think this ADOS movement, if it is a movement, because it's still yet to be seen, is it a moment or is it a movement, as I asked Brother Malcolm Fletch TV earlier? The truth of the matter is the political game this year is going to be in a lot of trouble. Because it seems like black folks ain't having it this time around. And we got a new generation that's looking at things a hell of a lot different. So that's my 2 points. 2 cents I want to put in. Let me go back over to Super Trez or Prophet of Thought. Any one of you brothers want to jump in and say anything? You want to say your last words or anything that's on your mind? And make sure you support Super Trez channel and Prophet of Thought. I'll probably put in the description of this video these brothers' channels to add as well that have contributed to the night's program. But anybody has anything they want to add before we bring it to back to our guest of honor to take us on home?
Yeah, I just want to say peace, brother Info Man, for allowing me to be up on the stream. Peace to all the brothers on the panel. I'm familiar with everybody up here. Got a lot of respect for all of these brothers up here. I'm just gonna say this, man. I mean, are there people who probably deserve some reparations? I would imagine so. I just don't feel like I'm one of those people, and people may come at me for that. That's fine. I don't feel like I'm one of those people. I don't feel like I'm one of those people who necessarily need it, because giving me something would probably be taken away. And I have traced my family history, so I could prove that quickly. Mm-hmm. But giving that to me would be taking away from someone who probably needs it more. I mean, that's how I look at it. I mean, giving it to me would be taking it away from somebody who probably can't prove their lineage, even though the lineage exist, and they may be worse off than me. So I don't need it. Okay, I don't need it. I said what I needed.
Oh.
I need my freedom. I need my liberty. I need them to leave me the hell alone. That's what I need. But the people who feel that they need these reparations, I'm with them. I'm in the fight with them. If they need me to do something, I'll do it. But they just need to understand that I don't think that I need the government to give me any goddamn thing. I don't want them to give me anything. All right. I just want to be left alone and be able to live my life and control my life, because no matter what, and people may disagree with this, I said this earlier. Have you ever known this government to give Black people anything without conditions?
No,
okay.
I would agree with you. They've never had
without conditions.
Without conditions. You're right. I would agree with
that. And do we believe that reparations are going to be the end all be all? And will it compensate? Is there any amount of money that the government can really give Black folks for what Black folks went through in this country? If they were really going to give Black folks what Black folks really deserve, this country would be bankrupt the first day they start giving out checks. They don't have enough goddamn money to pay Black folks back. They don't have enough to pay Black folks back for what they went through in this country.
Art, let me put a little bit of a ringer in what you're saying here. This is where I kind of disagree with you, brother. Do you know you know this, brother? Come on now, you know this now. The United States government gives billions of dollars every year to various countries around the world. I mean, they give Israel. I mean, they help set that state up along with England and other countries in Europe. I mean, Israel is still sucking off of the United States, which is our tax dollars, right? But I can go to Israel right now and be called a nigga, okay? In Israel. They're giving money, they're giving what they call foreign aid, right, to various countries. They give money to dictators. They think about the wars that we've had and how much the wars cost. I think Super Trez is a veteran of military. He probably could speak upon this better than I can. I mean, of course he could, but I think we shouldn't underestimate the wealth of America, because isn't it funny how every year we can read in a newspaper or online how America is giving billions of dollars to all these different countries around the world. And we're talking about they've been doing it for decades. So that's why I don't believe that they couldn't pay Black people something, whether it be institutionalized reparations or money to our ancestors that are living, who lived through Jim Crow, or family members who can identify that family member. I don't believe that, because as long as I've been alive in my 49 years, and that's not that long, but I've been around for a while, like yourself, brother. I remember reading in newspapers in the 80s when I was, when I was a teenager, in the 90s and the early 2000s, where America gives foreign aid here. There's a book that I read by John Perkins, Economic Hitman. He talks about it exclusively, how America is an empire and it gives out money through foreign aid to manipulate other countries to control their resources. So I don't necessarily know if I can buy that 100%, Brother X, because this country has a history of putting out billions of dollars. I mean, what about all that money that went missing in the Iraq war that they never found?
Well, if they're going to give Black folks money or land, if they ask me what Black folks need, give every Black person $1 billion, then give them $1 billion apiece. How about that? That might be a start. Okay, if they handing out $20,000 checks, $30,000 checks, $50,000 checks, $100,000 checks, man, that ain't no money, man.
Okay,
that's no money.
I agree with you.
That's not paying Black folks back for what Black folks' ancestors went through. If you want to pay Black folks back, I tell you what, you give every fucking Black person $1 million right off the rip. Give every Black person $1 million. That'll be a start. $1 million. That'll be a start. You want to give Black folks money, you talking about hundreds and hundreds of years of slavery, right? Another few hundred years of discrimination, bigotry, murder, rape, robbery. I mean, come on. Do they really have enough money to pay Black folks for that? Do they have enough money to pay one Black person back for that? 10, 100, 1,000. You're talking 40 million people. Even if only half of us are true descendants of slaves, do they really have enough money to give 20 million people enough? What would make sense? What would really compensate? Can they? Land, money, education?
You're right, brother.
Do they really have it?
If you put it that way, in terms of $1 billion per person, I can see where you're going at with that, with your argument. I can see that. But I think where we differ is that I don't look at it as a check. I look at it more as certain benefits that would help us economically. And certainly taxes, being exempt from that, healthcare, housing, land grants, things of that nature would be beneficial. However, like you said, it still comes with a trick bag because you're getting it from the mayonnaise man. And it's not necessary we as a people producing it. So that does come with some set of problems. I have to agree. But how many of other brothers on the panel, along with Brother Prophet of Thought series, feel the same way that they don't need the money? Because if you don't need the money, goddamn it, I'll take your slice.
Man, I'll take mine. Run me mine.
Prophet of Thought series, I'll take your slice. Let me see. Brother Art, I'll take your slice if you don't want it. AM1, I'll take your slice too. God damn it.
Give me them slices. I know exactly what to do with it. Man, I'll take that and build some things here in Oakland, California that'll really get these youngsters really laced up properly on some real economic game and get us all moving in the right direction. It's a real interesting idea, the whole reparations thing. And part of the reason why I'm almost certain it won't happen is because if some of the most creative, innovative, and resilient people that the world has ever known in the form of American descendants of slaves get a hand on that kind of economic potential, it would totally change the landscape of what we understand as far as world economics. And that's dangerous. I mean, that's at the very least a matter of national security for this country that has done everything it can possibly do to undermine and usurp the power of whole other nations. So you think they're going to give us the power from within to undo this whole system? That, you know what I mean? Like, it just ain't going to happen. There's just no way. Just being realistic about it. I like the idea of it, but I'm such a strategic thinker and realist about this kind of stuff. I don't see how they would do it. There's no way they would do it. They're undermining whole other people's governments, trying to come after their monetary systems. And this is, international banking. There's so many layers to the game. Even what's going on with the dollar, the dollar not even being backed by gold or any other precious metals, fiat currency system, the Federal Reserve System. This whole reparations issue would bankrupt America for the most part and expose the fact that the money is being manipulated by international bankers. This discussion is not going to go too much further, but I do like the idea that this is starting to kind of get a little mainstream push, at least to the degree that it can be maybe a household discussion amongst Black folks. And again, my fallback plan thinking about this is the sheer fact that it would and theoretically could rally enough of us in a critical mass level to understand the fact that they won't give us the bag of money and that we need to get all hands on deck about being about economics as opposed to other sidebar issues. Go ahead, y'all.
Let me just say before we end the program, Sister Kendra is going to come on. I was trying to get her to come on earlier. She wanted to lay back and just listen. She's a very honorable sister. She's going to come on and she wants to give her point of view on the issue that we're talking about tonight. So before we end it, I just sent her a link and I'm waiting for Sister Kendra to come on board with us and break down some wisdom from her perspective. Brother Malcolm Fletch TV, brother, you're the honored guest tonight. Any other thoughts you have as we wait for Sister Kendra to come on board? Kendra D.
I'm kind of looking up something right quick because there is something I do want to say, but if anybody else would like to go, they can go right quick. I'm just trying to do some quick little research right quick.
Okay. All right, brother Rob or anybody speak now.
Yeah,
Rob.
I was just gonna say, my fault, Art. I'm gonna be real quick. I really you piqued my interest when you talked about Booker T. Washington. That's an argument that I make all of the time. If you read Up from Slavery, towards the middle of the book, he talks about what he thought the people at Tuskegee needed. He didn't build a school and say this is what this is what the people need. He went and met the people before he built the school. One more time. Up from Slavery. Oh man, that it's a must read. Everybody should read that book. Right? But he went and met the people before he built the school because he wanted to build a school around the people's needs. Now, if we were to follow Booker T's model, think about it, right? Black folks would rule the agricultural industry. We would literally rule it. Yeah. And if we did that, most of the plastics that we use would come from us. So I'm going to leave that right there.
Okay, we got Sister Kendra on now, finally. I wanted to get you on a lot earlier, sister, but you said you wanted to sit back and check out what was going on. I'm glad to have you on here. I've been watching you from afar. I'm a fan. I enjoy your live streams, even when I'm not in the chat room and I'm listening. You speak with a lot of wisdom. I listen to you on BGS for Women program, which inspires me to want to like do the same type of thing, get some dynamic sisters together and do a panel like that. So I'm glad to have you here. I feel honored to have you here, sister. So I got to give you a clap for being here out of respect.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Welcome.
How is everyone?
How you
Hey,
doing?
sister.
Okay, so I don't have a whole lot to say, but I'm listening to all of you brothers say what you needed to say. And here's my thing. As far as reparations are concerned, whether it is to be a monetary check, land, 40 acres and a mule, whatever it's gonna be, it is not a gift, okay? We are not asking America to give us something that we, quote unquote, don't deserve, don't need, or have not earned, okay? A gift is when someone gives you something out of maybe the kindness of their heart, or they're looking for something in return. You have not earned or asked for it, and they give it to you. That is not what reparations is. Reparations is a debt owed, okay? And so when this country feels like you owe them a debt, it doesn't matter if you die. That debt transfers to your children or your next of kin. They want the debt paid, period. And they will extract it however they feel like they want to extract it. They'll garnish your paychecks. They don't care if you go homeless. They don't care what your life circumstances are. They don't care how you fare after they take off what they want from the top of your money. They don't wrestle with morality like we do about whether or not we need it, or whether or not we want it, or whether or not we're too proud to accept it, or whatever the case may be. When you owe, they take, period. And they don't have any compunction about whether something is right or wrong, whether that puts you in a particular situation in your life. They don't ask any questions.
That's right.
They simply do what they want to do. Also, they hand each other stimulus packages all the time. Did we forget about the bursting of the housing bubble? Did we forget about all of these conglomerate and corporations getting all of this money when we needed a bailout. The people needed a bailout. We didn't get it. But these insurance companies, these large companies, all they've got to do is file bankruptcy of one type or another, get off the hook, transfer the funds somewhere else, continue going. When they get those stimulus packages, they're not like, you know what, I don't think I need it. I can make it myself. No, they're like, no, give it to me. Give it to me. That's right. I need $2.6 billion to continue running this business. And I want it from you. And I want it now. Write the check. And they don't have any of this wrestling with fake morality or any of that. They have none of it. They take this is why they're called conservatives, because they stole the wealth and they conserve it among themselves. They have what they've been able to deny us, which is the accumulation, the acquisition, and the conservation of generational wealth. They've taken the opportunity from you to have it. This is why we can't get the leg up that they get, okay? They're passing down businesses, land, homes, skill sets to their children, their progeny, and they restrict you from doing the same because it would put you on the same level of power that they have. This is why they restrict you. We can't get ahead without money. We can talk about building the community and building the Black community, and I'm all for that, but that's not happening without no money. It's not. It's ideological until we get some capital in our hands. And worrying about who's going to do what with the money or whatever form it comes in, well, we ain't going to do nothing but buy Jordans with it. I don't give a good goddamn if y'all flushed it down the toilet. The money owed to me is the money owed to me. Just like when you go to work and they pay you your paycheck, the boss ain't asked you what you did with your money. If you was being irresponsible with your money that you got out the check, that's not his problem. That's your problem. His only deal in that situation is to pay you for work done. What you do with that payment is your business. Now, if you want to be irresponsible and be homeless and hungry, that's your problem. He paid you for the work. You can't come back and squawk about it. So that's really all I had to say. We got to stop wrestling with whether or not they're going to do right. We're not asking for them to do right by us. We're demanding a payment, a debt, like they do. They demand to be paid their debts that they feel like you owe them. They feel like you owe taxes. The IRS is not even a government entity. We're paying taxes to God knows who, but don't pay them and see what happened to you.
And you know what, sister, to add to what you're saying, we pay taxes and our money, as I said earlier, goes over to other foreign countries where I can get on a plane and fly to those countries and be called a nigga and mistreated. And they're giving money to Israel, all these other countries. They're giving billions of dollars of what they call foreign aid, which is just manipulation money, every damn year after year after year after year. And then they tell us, oh, we can't do nothing for y'all. And you make a good point. When you go to your job and you make your money, your boss doesn't ask you that you blow it off on liquor, beer, junk, clothing. No, all they want to know is that your ass is going to be to work on time to do the job. And if your ass can't do the job, they're going to get rid of you. So I think you're making a very good point. This is not something that we should be. It goes back to what I said earlier, and you reinforce that. Power concedes nothing without a demand. We have to demand. Other groups get what they get from this country and abroad because they make a demand. They're steady on the case over and over again. Native Americans got what they got. Other groups get what they get because they stay on the case, steady and steady and steady. They don't spend a lot of time crying about what we're going to do with the money that we get. That's their problem to worry about. But it seems like Black people, from what I'm hearing, it seems like we're the main ones concerned about what other Black people are going to do with their money. That goes back to what Brother X talked about on his channel about pocket watching. We're worrying about what you doing with your money. No, don't worry about my money.
But let me also add, family, and this is the point that I was making about a quick fix.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because again, like at the very beginning of the show, I showed information on how we spend money. We can't forget that we are a consumer nation. One thing that we have to transition our mind into thinking is ownership and assets, equity, liability. Okay? We have to think ownership, because just receiving money is just a quick fix to the problem, but it doesn't fix the solution. Now, Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote a book called The Fall of America. And the main cause of the fall of America was the dollar. He said once the dollar or the economic system begins to collapse, the whole foundation of America will begin to collapse. And this is why they assassinated Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, because he was getting ready to leave the American currency and the money from the Federal Reserve coming from these Jews, and he was going to go to the dinar, the gold dinar, okay, because he knew that the American dollar wasn't backed by anything. So they went and had that man assassinated, got him killed. So yeah, we get what you're saying. Yeah, money is a tool to help us get certain things that we need, but it's just a quick fix, because in the near future, the damn dollar is not going to be worth anything in the first place. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us, he said we need 8 to 10 states. And once we get 8 to 10 states, then yes, America, you need to fund us for the next 20 to 25 years so we can get strong and we can go on our own and we can divorce from you and we don't need you no more. But he said, I highly doubt that you would do this. So he put a demand on black people and said, well, instead of just sitting around and waiting on a mystery God, because we don't believe in no mystery God, we go out and we do for self, and we use our skills, our abilities, our talents, and we teach one another the trades. We learn skills and trades, and we build our own nation. We don't need their permission to do for us what we can do for ourselves. And also, real quick, he taught us in the Supreme Wisdom about the 85%, the 10%, and the 5%. Okay, in the Supreme Wisdom. The 85% are the uncivilized people, poison animal eaters, slaves from mental death and power, people who do not know the living God or their origin in this world, and they worship that they know what, who are easily led in the wrong direction, but hard to lead in the right direction. Who is the 10%? The rich, the slave makers of the poor. We are talking about people who are considered the slave makers of the poor. Why? Because we have money and we use that money. We don't use that money wisely because we consume things that we don't, that we are not producing, things that we are not manufacturing and distributing. So we give our money to the rich, the slave makers of the poor, who teach the poor lies, to believe that the almighty, true and living God is a spook and cannot be seen by the physical eye, otherwise known as the bloodsuckers of the poor. Okay, but you have us, the gods on this panel, because I'm grateful for every member who joined this panel tonight, because this is the circle of the gods right here. This is how we build, and we have to be consistent and do this consistently. We are the 5% in the poor part of the planet Earth.
Close your fucking lips. It's the fucking Grinch in here to tell you information man is a bitch ass nigga. Fuck that nigga. Hoe ass nigga. You.
Okay, what was that? I can't hear you, information man.
Oh, that was a troll that came on. Go on and don't let anyone change what we're doing here. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Who is the 5% in the poor part of the earth? Okay. They are the poor righteous teachers who do not.
Like I said, nigga, you a whole ass nigga, bitch ass nigga. Info man, you bitch ass nigga.
Get off the phone, you devil.
I know who that is. But keep going, brother. We're not going to give that energy. Continue.
Right. Okay. They are the poor righteous teachers who do not believe in the teachings of the 10% and are all wise and know who the living God is and teach that the living God is the Son of Man, the supreme being, the black man of Asia, and teach freedom, justice, and equality to all the human family of the planet Earth, otherwise known as civilized people, also are Muslim and Muslim sons. So I bring that up, beloved, to get us to understand that these people, these 10% are the bloodsuckers of the poor. And they are seeing our people specifically because they know what they are able to make off of our community. We are the cash cow. We are the breast that feeds basically the whole planet of the earth. You know, so my thing is we don't need a quick fix. Yeah, let's get that bag. Because if they offer me $1 million or however much, I'm going to take mine. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying we shouldn't push for it. I'm not saying that we shouldn't get it. But what I'm saying is let's not just bank on the quick fix. We need to be working on the long-term solution. That's it.
All right. Thank you, brother. Let me go over to Super Trez. Say your last words. I'm glad that you're here. Apologize. We have a troll coming in making negative statements, but that's not going to derail us from talking about what we're talking about and doing what's positive for Black people. You're always going to have someone who wants to derail the conversation and lives in negativity. And guess what? We're going to keep moving this train, take the ball and run with it. Go right ahead, brother Super Trez.
Yes, thank you so much, Information Man. Thank you to everybody on the panel. I want to say respect to Mr. Art New Style, Brother Rob, yourself, of course, Information Man, as well as Malcolm. First time that we spoke, Malcolm, and it has been a pleasure. I appreciate your insight on this particular subject. Prophet of Thought series, always a pleasure. We still
Super Trez, man. I'm still hunting you, brother. I want to get you on the stream.
Yeah, you know, those Wednesdays is hard for me, but we're gonna work something out. Probably coming up, I'm gonna be taking a little trip to Houston, so I'll be off, for about a week. So maybe we can work something out then. But I do look forward to that as well. Yeah, I do want to say, I respect your candor, Information Man, in the way that you handled, the little interruption that we had. I mean, I understand that. Well, I don't really understand, but from what I've heard, there's some type of personal animosity that has recently arisen. But I think there's a time and place to hash those things out. And when we as a collective are attempting to build, we have to leave our personal feelings aside. That can be addressed at a later time, but don't let that defocus from the task at hand. And the task at hand is building. And to echo your sentiments and everyone's sentiments as far as what our resolution is in the event that we actually receive reparations, we need to start preparing ourselves now, make decisions in spite or in lieu of getting reparations. Like, we need to start making decisions now and start adjusting our train of thought now to reflect, our focus on the future and not just living in the present. And I think that if we do that now, we start making those decisions now, whether or not we get reparations wouldn't even matter. Although I think our intention should receive reparations, we can make decisions regardless of having reparations that will lead to our prosperity as a collective. We can do that without government assistance. We can do that given our current circumstances and our current our spectral positioning within the continuum. So I think that that's the key, is just look at some of our decisions and how does that affect our lineage. You look at it from a perspective of playing chess. Myself, I was in a chess club in high school. So in chess, you're thinking, anywhere between 8 and 12 steps ahead. So the decision that you make now can put you in check, 5 steps later. So that's the type of mentality that we need to adopt, as a collective, and start looking at, what we can do for the future. And one of the biggest roadblocks and obstacles is that not everybody is in the same position. There's certain people who have socioeconomic disparities where they're unable to transcend higher thought because of where they are as far as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Some of their basic needs aren't being met. So how can they critically think about the future when they're dealing with immediate concerns in the present? So I think that we have to, as a collective, be considerate of other people's positions, because sometimes we take our prosperity for granted, and I think we have to get out of that mindset. And I think that's what causes so much divisiveness amongst the community, is that we're not empathetic, not necessarily being sympathetic, but at least be empathetic. Look at somebody else's positioning, and then you can kind of deduce why they make the decisions that they make. And it's a lot of time it's circumstance, and just remember that our circumstances are maybe it's because of hard work, but it still shouldn't be taken for granted. And don't discredit other people because of the current state that they're in. And again, anybody else that's interested, make sure you check out my channel, Super Triz, on YouTube. The latest upload, or actually live stream that I did, and now is an upload, was the Age of Aquarius 2 Judgment Day. And Age of Aquarius 2 Judgment Day basically talks about the technologically advanced era that we're in and that we're currently transitioning into. What are the implications for our lineage in the future? And what are some of the applications of reparations to ensure the relevance of our lineage in the future? And so I advise everybody to, if you haven't checked out that stream, please go to my page, check out Age of Aquarius stream, and I'm very open to constructive criticism. So use that comment section and let me know what some of the holes are in that presentation, in that stream, and if there's anything that can be improved upon, some things that I may have missed, maybe I can incorporate that into the next stream. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I look forward to the next conversation.
Thank you for all your comments, for being here. Really appreciate that. Let me go over to Prophet of Thought so he can make his last statements for tonight. Appreciate you being here too, Prophet of Thought. Go right ahead, brother.
Yeah, I just like I said, much respect to everybody on the panel. Brother Info Man, you're my dude, man. I'll say this before I peel out. I think the greatest thing about this whole ADOS movement isn't the possible reparations, whether it be in the form of education, money, land, or what have you. I think the greatest thing that could possibly come out of the ADOS thing is that it could possibly give Black folks something to gather around, something to have a collective monolithic thought about, if nothing else. So if nothing else comes out of it, possibly the whole ADOS movement will at the very least bring Black folks together in a collective form. I think that's the
You look like a metrosexual sharecropper, information man. You fucking sharecropping coon.
Okay. So once again, we're going to keep going forward into the program. Brother Rob, you have anything you want to say? Brother Rob, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm still here. Just wanted to say thanks a lot for having me tonight, man, and sending me the link.
Problem at all.
I would say that we definitely need to continue to have these conversations, so that we can know what our demands are. Like you said earlier, power does not release any power without a demand. So we got to have our demands in order. We got to have ourselves in order. And in doing that, we can create the reality that we want to live in. I feel like, we need to heal before we build, like DS1 say. And once we do that, man, once we heal, You know, if reparations coming, so be it. And we're gonna be able to do a lot more with that $1 million. So thanks a lot for having me, and I appreciate tonight.
Okay, brother Art.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, yeah, it was good to chop it up with the fam, brother Rob, brother X, brother Flex, brother where's oh yeah, brother Super Tris, and of course you, brother Info.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think one thing what we have to really keep in mind, usually we do get things that we ask for, but it definitely comes in some kind of like mouse, like cheese on a mouse trap type thing. But the key thing is we're not looking at the big picture. If you're getting something, you got to outsmart them and make sure that it still works for you, regardless of their bad plans or hook behind it. You have to outsmart them. You got to be ready. You got to be ahead of them, because half the time they're ahead of us, but this time we got to be ahead of them. So that's something that some things I really want people to really keep in mind. Everything is possible for you. It doesn't always have to be, like I said, all in lock and step and everybody on the same program. Everybody have different ways on how to contribute it. Some people keep it to themselves and do things, but some people will do things for their community because there's lots of organizations that are still standing. So I want people to really think about that. And I'm gone.
Okay. Brother Malcolm Fletch TV, brother, you have any last words you want to say? I'm glad to have had you on the program, and I'm glad that last night that you reached out to me while I was in the chat and said you wanted to, get something going tonight around this issue. So I really appreciate you reaching out to me like that, like you did. I definitely appreciate that. Any last words, brother, for tonight?
Yes, sir. Like to always give praises to Allah, for allowing us this opportunity to come together as civilized Black men, showing nothing but love for one another, support for one another's ideas, and willing to build and do whatever we have to do for the betterment of our people. I'm very grateful to be on this platform with my brother, and having this dialogue with other Black men like myself, hearing multiple different perspectives from different Black men and sisters. The sisters had a lot of powerful things to say as well. And I just think that as a people, we must come together, because as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, that our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. And we cannot let any enemy get between our unity, not even a troll. You know what I'm saying? Even if they want to try to jump in and show they behinds, we're going to kick their ass and and get rid of them. And that's how we roll. We taking heads, So, again, I appreciate every single brother that was on this panel, and I love every single brother that was on this panel. We continuously have love for one another, love for the brotherhood, love for the sisterhood, love for our people. We can accomplish great things. So, with that being said, dear family, I would like to greet you all as I came with the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, brother. Well, that's going to do it tonight, folks. This was a great show. I'm glad that a lot of folks came out to support the show. I want to thank Prophet of Thought Series, Super Trez, brother, Sister Nicole Ali, Mary was on with us earlier tonight. We got big brother Rob. We had brother Art. AM1 was on board with us, of course. Malcolm Fletch TV. Definitely check them out. We had some. Sister Kendra D came on with us tonight and gave some words. I appreciate her. And brother Cap PY2 came on board and said a few words tonight. So I want to thank, if there's anybody I might have forgotten, forgive me. I want to thank everybody in the chat room. African Defender. I see Six Figure Days is in there. Prophet, I thought I see in there. We had Gigi that was in there. Little Rock 2517. Real Aaron Collins. We got the Geek Surgeon. We got the Cocoa Butter. Worthy in there. Brother Thompson that super chatted me tonight. And one, I want to thank Super Triz who super chatted me tonight. A lot of good people came through tonight. Marlo's Corner, check out his channel. He's got a good channel over there. He talks about boxing and sports, things of that nature. Cherry, Willie, good to see her here. I'm bad with names. We got Crow Nubian, thank you for being here. Brother Kwame, thank you for being here. Anybody I might have missed, I apologize, but everybody in the chat room, let me give y'all a clap because you guys have been great tonight throughout everything. Let me just say this, that this is in a lot of ways, this is a difficult conversation that we had tonight because we all have different opinions, as you could clearly hear tonight. We all have difference of opinions whether we should get it, how we should get it, whether the government in this country is going to make us whole. I don't personally believe that they're going to just give it to us like tomorrow, yesterday. We may not see this. Those of us that are alive right now, we may not be alive to see it. Maybe it's our children in the future. Who knows? But what we do today can build it for tomorrow. Either way, Brother Prophet of Thought Series said that, hey, he doesn't need the money, that the money should go to those who most need it. I would agree with him that if you don't need the money, donate it to a program. If we were to get the money, support a program with the money, do something with it that can benefit those who may need the money. And bottom line is we need the money because it is due us. It is our birthright. And I don't think we should beg. Power concedes nothing without a demand. I'm going to keep saying that. And that's just how it is. ADOS. That's what's going on right now. We're going to have to hold the politicians' feet to the fire. And we'll see. We're going to see what's going to happen. We're going to see, folks, whether this is just a movement, whether this is a movement or is it just a moment. And time will tell based on how much we keep pushing this narrative, whether it be in social media, mass media. We'll see what's going to happen. We're going to keep pushing forward. I'll be back with more pre-produced videos. We'll do some more live streams like this where we have panels. We'll get into discussions. What was great about tonight's discussion is that nobody was arguing with nobody, calling nobody out their name. We were respectful of one another. I feel that every man felt that he had a stake in the conversation as we went to each man and lady. And let me just say this, you're going to always have trolls that will come into the channel, be disruptive, people who may not like you for whatever reason. But that's not going to stop me from doing what I do. It's not going to stop me or discourage me at all. I'm going to keep moving in a positive direction. And people who want to troll, they can do what they want to do. They're just simply wasting their time because it ain't going to stop the mission that I'm on at all. Matter of fact, I laugh about it. Matter of fact, I'm going to sleep good tonight, have me something good to eat, and not even going to trip off of the troll coming in tonight. I'm going to laugh because it was funny. Matter of fact, let me play one of my sound effects. It was so funny to me. You're not going to stop my train from moving. Now, with that said, thank you, everybody. Going to play my customary music because I'm enjoying this stream tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Whatever you want to know, come join the milk. You're listening to whatever you want to know, come join the milk with the info show. It's the info man. You can call him information info man. He can not tell the truth. But if you want to win, please don't let him be
We're going to always tell the truth, folks. Nothing's going to stop the train here, not even trolls. Good night, everybody. I'll see you around YouTube. Thank you. Have a great night, great weekend. Love you all and for your support.